Alright.
Okay.
So let's look at the cover page. I know we both don't like the cover page, and I don't want to go over all of it,
Yeah.
but something funny I find out about this one is Pound is showing them the locket, and my dude,
Yeah.
like, you were trying to convince him for like what, 5 minutes, and then they told you to fuck off, and then they went on the ship and left. It's like they don't go on the ship in 1 second. You know what I mean? Like it takes like
Yeah.
5 minutes to get on the ship, like dock off, and then like sail away. So that whole time you weren't thinking to show him the locket.
You could have showed him this. You could have
Yeah.
showed him this. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is just. I think with this cover story, Oda is just having fun with it, and just kind of. It seems like he's prolonging it, and extending it longer than it has to be. But I'm thinking he's just enjoying himself using gags and all this stuff, because him showing this now when he had this all along is kind of like, bro, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's this has been going on long enough, man.
Part of me thinks that it's because he has some cool cover stories to show after, and he wants to save them. And part of me thinks it's just because he has a certain criteria for how much screen time he wants to give the supernovas. So like since this ties into Capone, and he doesn't have like major plans for Capone, he's like, I might as well just show some Capone stuff. in the
Yeah,
cover
that's a good point. That's definitely a good point, because I was thinking that, or either he was trying to tie it back to Wano, so he's trying to extend it to a point where he's like he can tie it all together. But now I'm really not sure, because
Yeah, now it's kinda
going on a
looking
lot
unlikely.
longer than I expected. Yeah, like I didn't expect it to go this long.
And there's a bunch of weird things in general. Like a lot of people were expecting Moria to show up in Wano, for example, and unless the
Yeah.
raid fails, like some people have been predicting, like at this point, is it that likely? I'm not sure. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Mora could still show up, but it's just when. Like when would it be perfect for him to show up? But I guess in 989, there's some hints that he could possibly, make an appearance.
I mean, at first I was under the belief that we needed something crazy like Nightmare Gear 4 Luffy or some shit to beat Kaido. But
Yeah.
Kaido's been kind of underwhelming the recent chapter, so I'm not sure I believe that so much anymore. But then there's still the whole Moria and Kaido dynamic. So he
Yeah.
could still show up just because of that. So, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as Kaido, it's been a mixed bag, where I think I'm not really questioning his strength. I'm more so looking at the circumstances. And Oda's kind of created a set of unique circumstances to the point that it's more feasible for Kaido to go down. Like before, we felt like there was nothing that could really do anything to him. Now it's like, all right, Oda's put a bunch of things in place to make it possible when I didn't see it possible before. So,
Well, I don't know if you want to get into that because that's like kind of a lengthy discussion.
mhm.
So we could just talk about the chapter if you want.
Wait, how do you feel about that?
I feel like, well, one, it's more so Oda going back on the invulnerability thing. I feel like it's pretty much just fake hype at this point, which is kind of unfortunate because it kind of ruins his intro, and his intro is one of my favorite intros. And two, it's kind of just an inconsistency thing in regards to the first Luffy versus Kaido chapter, because he was just so fast that he blitzed them. And for him to one-shot Blitz Gear 4, I don't see any reason for him to not just, like, straight up poof, like, Blitz Luffy, poof, Blitz Zoro. Do the same thing to Kid. Like, I feel like it's just one of those circumstances where Luffy lost the first fight so handedly just for hype, and it's not really meant to display how big of a gap there is between Luffy and Kaido.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, with Kaido's introduction, as hype as it was, there were some questions around it, because he did have a scar. So I think that gave Oda some wiggle room to kind of come back to it and say, okay, this is how I want to handle this. Because I'm not sure if you know about there was like a report or something that came out about Oda not really not being sure exactly how he wants Luffy to defeat Kaido.
Yeah.
So
something like a giant punch isn't good enough.
Yeah, something to that effect. I'm like, did he have all this in place already in regards to Kaido and Odin and him, being able to use Odin's Ryo, etc. I don't know. Do I think Kaido was ruined? Not necessarily. I think we gotta wait and see. It depends on how he goes down, right? Like this has to be the ultimate struggle, and if it just ends up being the same way like other villains, because I think the Yonko, obviously, this should be kind of viewed differently and taken down a bit differently, because it's such a shift in the One Piece world that it has to be kind of like momentous. So if he goes down like like Dofi or even like Cat, then it's like what was the point of it all? But I'm still holding out hope.
Yeah.
No, I haven't given up yet.
I mean, I still think it's going to be an insane struggle. For me, it's just with the Odin thing. Maybe it's just a presentation issue because it just looked like he did it so casually. Like, for me, if he had, like, some extreme face, like Mobile versus Conmay type demon face, and then he did it and it looked like an ultimate move, I wouldn't have a problem with it. And I don't think a lot of people would have had a problem with it either. But just the fact that it was so quick, it looked like he would have, like, low-diffed Kaido or something.
Yeah, you didn't feel the impact of the moment, for sure.
Yeah, and then Kinemon, and then especially Kiku, like, just stabbing through his hand like that, it definitely did not make things better. We'll leave it at that.
I'll feel that. I absolutely feel that.
But
like I said, the wrinkle he has there with Odin's Ryo, and I'm not sure if he's going to expound upon that as far as, like, using the Ryo of someone that's possibly dead or exactly what that meant. But it's a bunch of things there that you can try to use to justify it.
Yeah, at first I thought it was something like specific level, like maybe not exactly Odin's level, but they reached like a threshold level enough to where they could do it. But then I saw Joybo's video and it was something like a special type of hockey that's relating to Enma, where you could like sacrifice your life energy or some shit. I'm not really sure what's up with it, but I'll wait and see with it.
Yeah.
With the Luffy thing though, like honestly, I'm part of the Zoro killing Kaido group, and the main reason for that is because it's just hard for me to see Kaido dying to blunt damage. Like, Luffy, like, punches him 1,000 times, and then this one punch is the one that does it. Like, I feel like something like a lethal sword strike from Zoro makes more sense to be the finishing strike. It's just really hard for me to see Kaido going down to a punch.
Yeah, I think Zoro landing the final blow on Kaido, I don't think it's a crazy assessment. Right, I don't think that's that terrible. I think with Zoro killing Kaido, it's kind of become almost of like a cult, right? And I feel like a lot of people who support that are kind of obnoxious. So it kind of stains the entire movement, and it kind of discredits anything anybody who supports it says. Even though I think it makes sense. Sometimes some people that represent it, they would say things that's probably not feasible and a bit exaggerated. You know what I mean?
And at the same time, it's like just the fact that people are willing to dismiss it so quickly. People are like automatically on the back foot and like being aggressive about it. Like, how could you dismiss it so quickly? Your reasoning isn't all that. What's wrong with you? Like, type of shit.
Exactly. So I mean, like I said, I think it makes sense. I think it would be, like Luffy using a punch to knock out Kaido just doesn't make sense. But just how some of the arguments are constructed, it just makes people not even want to listen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think it's plausible. Yeah.
I give props to the ZKK guys. Like, they come up with an insane amount of evidence. Like, the amount of research these guys have done, like, I would never do that much research, but like, congrats.
Like I said, it's a cult, bro.
Yeah, at this point, kind of.
She is insane. She is definitely insane.
Yeah, but let's move on with the chapter.
All right.
So, big meme. She's on the floor, She took a motorcycle to the face. And this kind of goes with what else happened to her with Jinbei judo flipping her. And this goes into why I don't like the chapter in general. I just felt like it was a filler chapter because I feel like almost anything that happens to the Big Mom, it doesn't count because she's just jobbing for the plot. And the excuse people make is, well, her durability is intact, her physical strength is intact. Like, those aspects of her weren't really like clowned on or made to be a joke. And like, I get that those are the most highlighted points of her strength. So in a sense, like, those getting exposed is worse than her speed getting exposed.
Right.
But you still have to look at like her overall combat abilities. Like, she just like stood there and watched Frankie just like ride at her with the motorcycle. You have to have some pretty shit reaction speed to do that. And then when Jinbei flipped her, like, the second Jinbei touches you, like, she should be fast enough to like notice someone's touching me, immediately look at him, and then like fling him off. And then especially for Robin, when she's like somersaulting her, you should be fast enough to, just stop that. But instead, she's just standing there like, whoa, what is happening?
Yeah, I think for Big Mom, Back in the day, things like this used to bother me. In regards to betrayal or her not getting her just due because we know she has the capability, right, where she should decimate everyone around her. But I think I've gotten to the point where I realize what Oda wants to use her for as a character. Well, I understand when people don't like her character. But in regards to the specific moments of her just being trolled or people getting the best of her, it's I don't view it as particularly a Big Mom problem because it's just Big Mom can't be Big Mom or the story is over, which goes back to just the entire setup, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, we're saying Big Mom should do these things, but if she does these things, like half of the Straw Hats should die to Big Mom. The unfortunate part is that I guess she's always the one that lands in these moments. Um,
It's just
but
easier to do for her than for like
it's
Kaido
a
or
it's a
other
lot easier
characters.
based on her character and how it's been set up, where she has this childlike personality. She's really kind of a bumbling idiot. So it's not that crazy for it to happen. Also, her mobility is kind of supported by her homies. So it's like her not being as coordinated. It's like you can take advantage of that when she's not being supported by her homies, which I think the entire purpose of them were like they're created to support her, you know.
Can you even
And
like buy the non-coordinated thing if she can fight on par with Kaido for like 4 days or something?
well, it's in moments like this, it's kind of like it is what it is, right? Because it goes back to just the plot, and I understand not liking this because you're sacrificing, I guess, basically story and
Yeah.
suspension of disbelief, and you're saying, okay, the Straw Hats they have to get out of this, so Big Mom, you just gotta look stupid for a little bit, and it just continues just the portrayal of Big Mom. So that's why I don't get upset when that happens.
For me, I can't even get upset anymore because it's just happened so many times. I'm just like, it's whatever at this point. That's why I feel like this chapter for me was filler. Not necessarily like I hated it. It can't evoke strong enough emotions for me to hate it, pretty much.
No, I get it. I get it. I mean, this chapter, like the Big Mom stuff, it doesn't bother me anymore. Like literally at all. Like it's I've gotten to the point where I understand what Big Mom is. So my expectations for Big Mom aren't that high, especially in moments where I don't feel like it's we're approaching the climax, so it's going to be an impactful moment at all. This is just we see this happens every arc where the Straw Hats they do something, and it's Oda's way of telling us the Straw Hats they've grown or they're growing. And so these are moments in which I just take with a grain of salt. Say, okay, this is what it is. It's like it's One Piece stuff, right? If you read One Piece, you know what One Piece stuff is, and this is just
Yeah.
what it is. So that's
But
how I
that's
look
also
at it.
part of why I don't like it because it's supposed to show the Straw Hats' growth. But to
Mhm.
me, like, you can't count any feat against Big Mom, so they basically didn't prove anything. So it's like you didn't even showcase their growth in a sense.
I think it depends on how deep you look at it. Because when you talk to people that are just let's just say casually reading the chapters, they view this completely differently.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so I think for us when we dissect the chapters every week for hours upon hours, it's you notice these things, right? And you notice some inconsistencies, and over time it can bother you. But I think if you're just for people that are casually reading the chapter, it doesn't. They don't even look at it this way. They're just like, oh man, the Straw Hats did something cool, the Big Mom. They're just like, and they're a huge fan of the Straw Hats. Um, so it's not really a big thing. And I think and again for the people that hate Big Mom and hate the things happening to Big Mom, I'm not. I understand, but I think after a while you just got to get to a point where you understand like what she is and the whole purpose of her being there. It's to somehow raise the threat level, but to not be as threatening. Because if she is too threatening, then story's over.
Hmm.
So it can be viewed as annoying. It's like, why are you even here? Because you're just being made a fool of.
It's just conflicting because
Yeah.
it's Big Mom, but at the same time, you want to appreciate tension. So when tension is just so inconsistent, it's like, damn. Like for me,
When's,
when you look at the first chapter of One Piece, right?
yeah.
And you see Shanks, like kind of the promise in a sense with even Roger and Shanks was like, hey, look, these pirates are so awesome. This is like the pirate world. Like this is what Luffy's gonna be. It's gonna be like a cutthroat sea out there. He's gonna face some crazy people. It's gonna be a journey that you have to be a serious badass to get through. And Luffy and Zoro, particularly like having these crazy showcases of will throughout the series, like Zoro, nothing happened. Luffy's jet Gatling versus Lucci. It just makes the world building even more intriguing because you see all these like Yonko commanders and you're like, damn, Luffy and Zoro, they've been through all this and they're still fodder to these guys. Like, what have these guys gone through? The pirate world is fucking awesome. And then when shit like this happens, it's like, damn, I thought the New World was gonna be like just a step above. Like the Yonko cruise, it's gonna bring everything on overdrive. Like tension's gonna go through the roof. Like this, it's gonna really feel like this is the pirate world. We're going up against the Yonko and her crew, and you have to be on point to even stand a chance, or you're gonna die. And it just doesn't feel like that.
I absolutely understand that, and I agree. Let me ask you this: in regards to tension, when was the last time you really felt true tension?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it might be at Whole Cake before things started going to shit. And in my opinion, when things started going to shit was when Cracker, he couldn't kill Luffy when Luffy was fat mode for like 11 hours.
Okay.
Up until then, I had high hopes for Whole Cake. And I think there was like a lot of ways the plot lines could have gone through. Just the premise of it, like Luffy can't beat
Big Mom was scary.
Yeah, just the premise in general, like Luffy can't beat Big Mom. What's he gonna do? Is he gonna like make a deal with her? Is he gonna have to develop and like do something un-Luffy like that to just get Sanji? And then I feel like ever since that Cracker moment, things started getting more and more convenient leading up to the wedding. And then the wedding I think was very convenient in itself. And then just all of Whole Cake after that, I didn't like. And it's unfortunate because I think the setup was really good, and then what Whole Cake is in general ruins that setup as well. Because I know what happens to the plot lines now, so I just don't like any of it.
No, the Whole Cake thing, I think there are misses in the Whole Cake. I think for me, Whole Cake, and this is my bias, it's kind of carried by Katakuri. So I enjoy Katakuri as a character. I mean, I do think there are blatant things in his character that are inconsistent, that they kind of feels convenient for Luffy to get out of there. But I think overall I enjoy so many characters in that arc. It's not like some of the inconsistencies didn't bother me as much. I say that. You know, and I'm a Sanji guy too, so it's like,
I mean, for me, I kind of agree with you in a sense that inconsistencies don't bother me that much. Like it's something hard to decide what's the silver lining, because there's a lot of moments even in Wano, and I still enjoy some chapters of Wano, but you just have to ask yourself, like, what is too much? What is the point where execution actually matters, and you have to say, all right, this is too much? Because concepts are cool, like the concepts of the Straw Hat getting shine against an emperor, that's cool, but if you look at the actual execution, I think we both agree it wasn't done well. So at one point, are you like, I just like the concept so much that the execution doesn't matter? Like, what level of execution is so bad that you're like, fuck the concept, it doesn't matter to me anymore? Like, I think that's a difficult question to answer, and I can't really answer it myself because, like I said, like a lot of times chapters will have inconsistencies that I think are horrible, but I won't get mad at them. I'll just be like, it's whatever. I'm just gonna skim past them and look at the bright sides.
Yeah, with the Straw Hats in regards to execution, it's that's something I talk about, but I try not to kind of dwell on it, because I feel like sometimes when you talk about execution, some people may enjoy the way it's been done, some people may not like it. And what I've also noticed, like creating content, is that most people just don't care.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like a lot of the Wano problems, if you didn't like what happened in previous Wano chapters, it has like repeating problems. So you feel like you're just going to keep repeating yourself over and over again if you just go into the nitty gritty of execution. And that's why I kind of stopped like making weekly discussions on it, because I'm just so tired of repeating the same shit. Because the style I like to do my discussions is I like to go super in depth. And then it just gets super repetitive and redundant. I'm just like, I don't want to fucking complain about this thing for the 8th time or whatever.
Yeah, so that's why I think, like, you know, in regards to discussions, it's much I'd say better for your mental health as well. To kind of just talk about things you like. You can. I think it's good to critique, but I feel like sometimes if it's especially if it's the same thing over and over and over again, like you said, it just becomes it gets to a place where even people that are watching you're kind of like, okay, bro, like you said you didn't like this already. Like why? We get it. You don't like it. All right. So then, because if the same problem is so important that you consistently or constantly bring it up, it's like, all right, are you enjoying what you're reading? Because it's like it's kind of sticking out like a sore thumb every single week.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So where I think that's actually a question where it's like, do you enjoy Wano?
Honestly, for me too, it's like I don't have that many subscribers, so and the people that do subscribe to me, they subscribe because I do the in-depth content.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like I'm obligated to just go super in-depth every time, just because that's what my fans like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and also, new people might subscribe, so just bring it up just in case that they it's like first time
No, I
seeing my
understand
video.
that. I understand that. It's like the content that people are subscribing for, you want to continuously do it. But I guess this kind of in regards to going in depth and things you address in a chapter, that kind of goes into I guess growing and feedback, because most people that read One Piece or watch One Piece, when they watch a review or read something, it's not really to a lot of times hear differing opinions, right? It's sometimes be validated. And I
Yeah.
think um in-depth discussions are so hard for people to kind of, especially when it's being for One Piece, being overly critical, and I'm not really overly critical, being critical in general, because I think some One Piece fans don't they don't want to face that reality,
I
right? Where it's
see
like
what you mean.
you can bring up all these, you can point out, make valid points in regards to things that are inconsistent, things that don't make sense, and you still wouldn't get the feedback that you think is warranted because people just love One Piece. So then it gets to a point where it's like, all right, what's the point of the critique anymore? Is it just for me,
I feel
or
you.
is it for the people that are following me?
Another
Like,
huge thing for
yeah,
me is like it's much easier to if you're doing a review or an analysis, it's so much easier to just point out inconsistencies instead of explaining why what you like is good. So a lot of the times,
yeah,
like if someone makes a critique, they'll go super in depth on all the problems, and then when it
yeah,
comes to what they like, they'll be like, "It's good, I liked it," or like just skim by it, or like just
yeah.
make it be way shorter because if you like a moment, it's harder to give even a pseudo objective analysis of why this is good.
Because it's more than likely subjective at that point.
Yeah.
And and that's the thing where, say you end up doing that, it's like 70% of the video or the
Just
analysis
complaining,
ends up
yeah.
being just good, and then it's like, okay, all right, enough of this. So, like I said, if you're kind of fostering that I guess that energy, and just basically giving people the real in regards to One Piece, and and from your perspective, the quality of it going down or not meeting your expectations, that's your prerogative, and that makes sense. But um it's just I've realized people just don't care
Yeah,
in
they'll
regards to
just
that.
tell you drop the series, nitpick,
Yeah, why are you
toxic.
reading? You nitpick, you're toxic. It doesn't matter. So then you quickly get to a point where it's like, all right, I when I don't like something, like I can discuss something I don't like, but I'll discuss it amongst people that want to hear it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's no point in bringing this to an audience that don't care about it, because
Yeah,
it's just falling on deaf ears and I'm wasting my time.
yeah, especially
So
because people are just super condescending in general. Like I was watching
yeah.
one of Dritz's streams, and he
Hmm.
was talking about how you had a lot of dislikes in one of your reactions, and he was
Yes.
like, "What did you say?" Like, and you were like, "I didn't say anything," and I watched that discussion.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
watched it live, but I was like, honestly, like, yeah, I don't remember Brago saying anything super badly. And
I
then I
don't
go
remember
to it,
anything.
and then like someone talks shit. It's like, Brago, you don't know what you're talking about. And you're like, don't fucking tell me that. Like, what do you mean? Like, explain yourself. And the guy doesn't say anything.
He doesn't.
And
He
it's
didn't
like,
tell me what. He didn't tell me what I
yeah,
would.
like people want to be super fucking annoying and just talk shit to you. But then if you clap back in any sense, they're like, how dare you clap back at me?
Yeah, you're like, So it's. I feel even now, I think back to that, and I was just like, I don't even remember anything that I said that was too crazy to the point that people were super upset. But I guess I didn't have the reaction that people wanted to certain things. So I think that's a part of it as well, where sometimes you get to a point where you start wondering, like, all right, are live reactions even worth it anymore? But then I have chapters like 990 which I really enjoyed, and I'm like, all right, so this is chapters like this are the reasons why I do live reactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
But One Piece fans can be fickle, where it's like either you like it or we hate you. So the same people that's like, oh man, like I really appreciate your reaction to this chapter. The same people that's like, oh fuck you, because I didn't like a small thing from a chapter.
You didn't like something. Fuck you.
Yeah. So then it just really gets it gets annoying a lot, and that's why you kind of get to a place where voicing critiques, it's not even worth it, and it's more stressful. Because I can explain exactly why something is bad, and people will just discount it altogether. Be like, "Oh, that I don't agree. Like that's not bad." I'm just like, all right. At this point, I'm not about to argue with you know over 100 people or 1,000 people about like something like this on in the YouTube comment section or in the chat. It's just not worth it. It's
Yeah,
really
and
not
then
worth it.
even more than that, it's like the way they frame what they're saying, like they don't give the reasoning in the same sentence. Like they like make it seem like they're not trying to have a conversation. They're just trying to shit on you.
Yeah. Yeah, and then when you try to address it, then it's like it's either backpedal or then they get overly disrespectful. Then it's like, all right, I can't even. Like, there's no point even having this conversation. So then
Mm-hmm.
it's weird. Like I said, YouTube, One Piece on YouTube it's a very fickle thing. So that's why with you, doing the critiques is really good. But it's just like accepting like what's like what kind of comes with it.
Yeah, I mean,
'Cause-
I'm fine with that because
yeah,
I'm like the super honest, unapologetic type. So if
yeah.
anyone ever tries to come at me, I'm just gonna be like 1,000 times more extreme than you are. Like I think you go super light on these guys. Like I would roast the shit out of these guys if they ever tried that shit on me.
It's it's fine until it becomes too much, right? Like one person is cool. Then what if it's 2, 3, 4, 10? Then you're like wasting your time on these people, and it doesn't benefit you at all. Because I've won debates on Twitter before, back and forths on Twitter before, and it wasn't that satisfying at all. Because after one person, it spawned like 10 other people just quote tweeting,
Mm.
trying to jump into the fray, even in the YouTube comment section. It's like you could prove someone wrong, then here comes like 9 other people. Am I going to sit there and try to prove all 9 wrong? It's honestly a waste of time. So
I
then
feel
it's
you.
like I'm like not worth it. Where at times people are like, oh, why don't you respond to this person? Why don't you respond to this person? I'm like, what's for what? For your pleasure? To make you feel good?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I don't see the benefit of it. Like it's no benefit at all. So it is what it is. So it's like with One Piece, it's I feel like when you have a smaller channel, it's a bit more pure and easier to kind of just say anything you feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because normally the people that are there, they kind of support everything that you feel, right? I think as you grow, you kind of realize that it's not just your own personal bubble anymore, right? You're gonna have opinions from a bunch of people that probably don't even like your content. They're just there to entertain themselves. right? So it's just like, all right, yeah, if I say, oh, I didn't like how Luffy did this in this chapter, especially with Luffy being the main character, it just spawns just so much negativity. And the whole purpose of reading One Piece is not for that negativity. That's not the energy I want when I'm trying to enjoy something. So it's like, again, with critique or just criticism in general, I'll save it for people that want to hear it. So like even in calls that we have like off air, some of those calls are really really refreshing because we're really open and honest about things that people really don't care about. And it's and sometimes people are like, oh, we want to hear those conversations. Until you do, then you're like, oh yeah, I definitely don't agree with this. It's like, yeah, I told you didn't want to hear it because we're being kind of unapologetic in some of these things that people really don't care about. So
Yeah, for me it's kind of different because I guess you can consider this a toxic mentality. Like when someone says an argument that I think is dumb, I just laugh at how dumb it is. So I'll sometimes just respond and like continue the argument just to keep seeing how stupid his replies are. Like it's kind of like a Joker like wanting to see the world burn in a sense, just like laughing at all this shit. But for me, it really sucks because I wouldn't have a problem with like getting really big and then like keeping the same mentality, but I have to cave in a sense because what I want to eventually do is I want to stream on Twitch. I want to stream gaming for a career actually. So at this point, like if I just have no filter completely, I can just get canceled, and that's just the crux of it.
Yeah, that's a part of it where while when you're a bit smaller, it's easier to say I don't care. I can say whatever I want to say until then when you grow a bit and then you say something and then you realize how many people are actually offended by it, where you see it like firsthand, then it's like, oh, okay. I think I gotta be a bit more like I gotta be a bit more responsible with the platform. I gotta be a bit more careful with what I say because, like you said, say you're gaming as a career, you get to
Say one
you
wrong
know
thing.
you got 100, 200,000 followers on Twitch at this point. All of a sudden, they pull up this thing from 3 years ago that you said, and it's like, whoa, and all that shit is gone that quickly, and it's just depends on what you're willing to conform to, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still gonna have the same personality. I'm not gonna actually be really apologetic or anything. I'm just gonna, lay low on some opinions, mostly just the really offensive ones. I'll still call people stupid or whatever, just because I like it. But there's like certain opinions, like especially when you get political, that it's just better to not talk about it.
Bro, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Got you.
My bad.
But yeah, no, it's been a dope convo so far. I wasn't expecting to go on for like 30 minutes and just be on like the beginning of the fucking chapter. That's kind of wild. I think we should probably move on with the chapter at this point. But yeah, so Big Meme is on the floor. Frankie ran her over like a Chad, and this is like a fucking meme, honestly. She's like, one after another, you answers keep popping up. Like, one thing that people tell me is she doesn't really care, and that's why she gets blitzed and all these things. But I'll be back. What I was basically saying is one defense you could come up with for Big Bomb getting blitzed and stuff is she just feels so invincible that she doesn't care to be as effective as possible. She's just kind of letting things happen.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's a part of it where she doesn't she knows she's not gonna get hurt anyway, so it's kind of like whatever.
That's way better than just straight up like power scaling consistency. But the problem with that is that she's like fucking fuming. Like she's so mad that they've embarrassed her time and time again that it makes no sense for her to be okay with them embarrassing her again.
Yeah, it's even with power scaling nowadays, it's getting to a point where it's like, is that even worth it anymore?
Depends on who you talk to. I mean, I still like to do it.
To the masses, I don't care to do it. Like I said, within our group is fun because we can kind of just get in depth about it. But in certain groups, it's just like I don't want to power scale with you. Like I'm not power scaling with you. It's no point. In this case, is this a knock on Big Mom in regards to power scaling?
I mean, we know it isn't because she went up against
Yeah,
Kaido.
yeah. It's like it in the grand scheme of things, this shit doesn't matter in
Yeah, it
regards to
feels
power
like
scaling.
anything that happens to her, it doesn't matter because
Yeah,
we know what her level's supposed to be at the end of the day.
right, right. That's part of the reason why I don't think that anybody's gonna beat her in one.
Hmm, that's interesting. Honestly, I feel like Luffy probably beats her. Either Luffy or Luffy Kid, like finishing tag team or something.
Yeah.
Because if Zoro does kill Kaido, then it kind of feels like Luffy should at least do that.
I think the thing with Big Mom is that she gets incapacitated through her own means, her own issues. Because as strong as Big Mom is, she's messed up, completely messed up mentally.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think everyone's expecting the amnesia to lead into the Mother Caramel plot line, which
yeah,
will make it better in a sense because it's not like the amnesia thing was just there just to be there for plot convenience. It actually leads
right.
to something.
It has some build up and it goes somewhere as opposed to just like a one off thing where it's like, what the fuck? Where is this? The fuck was this from?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that's really what happens to Big Mom.
But yeah, let's move on with the chapter because we went
All
on
right.
for a while without,
Yeah,
and we're
we
like
have.
halfway through the chapter.
Yeah.
So let me just go to the Frankie moment real quick. I wanted to mention this because when I first read this chapter, I honestly hated this moment for Frankie, but the official translations made it a lot better. What he said was in the bad translations, "You think we're running just because she's a Yonko? Nami, aren't you forgetting something? Our captain is a man who will one day be the Pirate King." And I didn't like this because I'm like, okay, Luffy's that guy, but you're still trash, Frankie. This doesn't say anything about you. Why are you so cocky? Like, and you get to be cocky because plot is on your side, and Big Mom, who could eviscerate you in a second, she's just gonna, just stand there. And it just annoys me. It's like, you didn't fucking deserve this, and you're acting so cocky about it. It's kind of like, let's say Zoro and Law fought. I don't think Law is near Zoro's strength, but let's say for the sake of the argument, he is. Imagine if they fought and Law just stood there and Zoro just one shot him because Law just stands there. And it's like Zoro starts like bragging about it, and you're like, why are you bragging about it, bro? Like Law didn't do anything.
Yeah, yeah. And I get what you're saying. Where Frankie's using his captain to kind of, he's basically using Luffy's clout and Luffy's strength, I guess, and his belief in Luffy to justify uh him bloviating.
I guess in a sense, it's like if Luffy's that guy and he picked me, I must be that guy too.
Yeah, by association.
Yeah, and the reason the officials made this better is because he said, "Run away from the Emperor of the Sea. You even trying, Nami? Do you want to make our captain the king of the pirates or not?" So this isn't like
I
more
love
of
that a lot
a
more.
"I'm that nigga" type of thing. It's more of like we
Yeah,
have to try. At the very
yeah,
least, we have to try, which I can respect a lot more.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's facts. I did enjoy that a lot more. Because I think when I reacted to that, I was like, that's part of one in the reaction. I was like, I don't know about this
I don't
when
know,
I read it.
Frankie. A bit too cocky.
I was like, okay, I'm kind of tired of this, but no, I feel what you're saying.
Yeah. So then after that, we have the Zoro Luffy Queen scene. This is probably my favorite part of the chapter, just because I find it pretty funny. Queen, he always gets disrespected, and like yet again, like they're just completely ignoring him. Like Queen probably thinks he's stronger than both of these guys,
Yeah,
and they just act like he's like, I don't even know if they know he's there because a Yonko commander should have a presence, but then there's also this
right.
weird thing. It's like in One Piece, there's moments where people don't sense presence, so it's like, is it like a Dragon Ball Z thing where you have to actually like flex and then your presence is like truly showing? I'm not really sure. But it was still funny that they don't notice him there, and then like, you
It was
motherfucker.
hilarious. They had a whole conversation
Yeah.
about going up to Kaido, and Queen was literally right there. So I actually like this moment a lot.
I
I
did as well.
think, I think, like you said, for Queen, it felt like disrespect, but at this point, it's just like Oda kind of put some of these characters into certain places and certain boxes where it seems like this is going to be continuous for Queen, right? Where it's like it seems like disrespect, but then he does something cool. And it's like disrespect and something cool. Where it's just like he's the character that's the equivalent of like
Big Mom.
from Kaido's crew for Big Mom, Sanji, where it's like he has fun with them, and I don't know, reading about Oda and just seeing SBS and things like that, I feel like he has like this weird sense of humor where he just enjoys putting characters in situations like this because he feels like that's what his fans really like, right? Like these funny characters, these gag characters, the faces, the nosebleeds. I think he really enjoys that part of it, and he believes it adds to the story. So I think for like when I talk to people that don't read the chapters, I guess to analyze it at all, they love it. They think this shit is hilarious and funny and dope, and it's like they think is a great offset to whatever's going on in the chapter. So it's like I think I'm always trying to remember, okay, I'm not the only person that's reading One Piece, or my group, we're not the only people that's reading One Piece. There's a entire separate group out here that feel completely differently from we do. Um, so it's like that's how I feel cool, but I don't want to discount how other people feel about it because, I mean, One Piece is One Piece for a reason.
Hmm. I mean, I think Oda just thinks that's the soul of One Piece, like you're kind of implying, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what he thinks kind of got One Piece to where it is now, which is true. So he doesn't want to change it, which is part of the problem. Right? Where I think we've gotten to a place where we feel like moments like this should not be as prevalent. Uh, but he it's like a formula that's been working for 2 decades at least, and it's like, all right, well, they like it. Why would I change now?
Yeah, I really wonder how One Piece would be if Oda had more competition. That's like one of those questions that we'll never get an answer to, but it's just interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's pretty much what it is. I think it's pretty much just like, all right, we don't. Oda's One Piece is far and away the greatest right now in regards to Jump. Of course, in Naruto and Bleach, when they were there, it was more competition. Now everybody's kind of they look up to Oda in One Piece. So Oda's
Hmm.
basically competing with himself. I'm sure Demon Slayer was kind of a wake up call, but it was just 1 year, and it's like, all
Yeah.
right, that's just a one off. It's kind of like the anime. That's kind of what did it for Demon Slayer. It's not really the story. So I don't think that's enough to push him. It needs to be something that's consistently great, and as popular, if not more so, for Oda to say, okay, I have to change things, because I think that's part of the reason why I was so excited for post time skip is that I expected this heightened level of tension, like you mentioned earlier, and just things to be on another level. Like I expected, I don't know, maybe Saboti every arc, every island. Um,
I don't know.
and
Yeah, I don't know about that, but just something like they need to be on point at all times. They can't afford to
well,
goof off.
to the point that if they're not on point, something like shit is gonna go awry. Not that they're gonna fail, but I feel like the tension in Saboti is kind of like unmatched.
I agree.
Where it was. I think that was the peak in regards to tension amongst the Straw Hats, or within, like, when you're reading the story, because I wasn't sure what was happening. And this is the first time where it's like, other than Aokiji, which is kind of, you kind of let him go, but they were like overwhelmed with Rayleigh there. So it's just like, wow, like they have a long way to go. So when we got to Punk Hazard, it was I mean, Fishman Island was kind of like, you can tell it was just kind of a showcase.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, Punk Hazard, let's get there. And it was like, okay, the personality switches, and then Law, and then it was like, all right, this even Zoro kind of echoed how we felt, like, yo, Luffy, stop, like, you keep fucking around, man. Like, you
Yeah, and
gotta
that
stop.
goes to the whole like you can forgive that because it's a culmination to this
Yeah,
whole Wano arc, which is why like Whole Cake Island was kind of the breaking point for people because they're like, all
yeah,
right, now we're against the Yonko crew. Now this is
yeah,
where shit changes, and it really feels like the new world, and it didn't in a sense.
yeah.
So,
I was one of those people that thought Luffy would lose the category. Um,
oh,
just
I
based on
knew
the
that plot armor was coming in strong. I knew.
listen, after Luffy broke the mirror, I was like, because now he's trapped, right? But based on everything they had shown up to that point, Personally, I thought it was no contest. But then, things played out the way they did. And for a moment, you thought it was going to go somewhere where Luffy lost and he would learn from it, right? But then, it happened the way it did, and it was just all right. And people actually did not like my entire take on that. Like they really disliked how I felt about Katakuri, why I wanted him to win, and that's I kind of got.
I think the biggest problem with that is Cat beat on him for 11 hours because of the timing. Like Oda wanted to have all the climaxes happen, like near around the same time.
Yeah.
So just having and this is why I don't even know if I should do this because it's kind of unfair to him in a sense, but this is why I have Cat as the weakest commander because, well, not the weakest commander in general, the weakest first commander because I don't see any other first commander failing to beat base Gear 2nd Luffy of 11 after 11 hours straight of just beating on him. That's so embarrassing in a sense. And then Luffy beat him in 11 hits or whatever it was.
No, I agree. That's part of the reason why people have Katakuri as kind of the weakest. And I understand it. But I think I think you have to sometimes remove Luffy's fights and not look at them with Luffy involved, right? If you remove Luffy, if that's not Luffy, how does this fight go?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of saw with Ichiji, he negatived them.
It's over instantly. It's over. So it's like, that's why sometimes power scaling, you have to kind of look at, okay, the tools that somebody has and remove some of the plot stuff, because when you include the plot stuff, yeah, it's like it doesn't really make sense. This person looks like they look terrible. But when you look at Katakuri as a combatant and what he has, and then we can't include Will because Will is kind of unquantifiable. With Katakuri, it's everything was better. Everything, like literally everything.
Yeah, I think the most accurate way to judge him is just take away how bad the attack power is to not beat Luffy after 12 hours. Take away him just for some reason just jobbing to base Luffy before the Snake Man. Like he got punched in the face or something. Like that was really weird to me. And then you just gotta keep in mind that he has the sticky powers. He's gonna use it more than 3% of the time in an actual fight.
And then also, he was for 11 hours. He was trying to capture Luffy, right? In the midst of that, then Luffy goes Gear 4th Snake Man, which is objectively way faster, or the attack is way faster than what he was doing. And Katakuri had another form he could go to evade Snake Man and get in like a hit immediately on Luffy. So Katakuri always had those tools in his arsenal to capture Luffy at any time. Like you said, you mentioned the stickiness as well. At any time. It just conveniently didn't work.
Yeah, when I first saw Cat, I honestly thought he was stronger than Marco, or maybe not stronger, but would beat him in a matchup, because I'm like, even if Marco can heal, he's just going to trap him inside the stickiness, and then GG. Yeah. But he just never used it, so I don't even know what to think about that anymore.
Even his awakening,
yeah.
It's, if Katakuri could create, literally, a kind of a cage or dungeon of donut, like mochi, where it's just, you can't escape. That's something that you absolutely could do. But it just never happened, because if it did, then we don't get to where we are now, where the entire objective, it seems like, was for Luffy to not only overcome Katakuri, but to get Future Sight, gain the ability of Future Sight, over that span.
Yeah.
Which is, it is what it is. That's why with Katakuri and Luffy, I don't talk to anybody about it anymore. Right? I touch on it, but then I just quickly move on, because I just
troll people about it.
Yeah, I don't think people care at this point. Where how you feel about it. It's like, well, Luffy won, bro. I'm like, okay, it is what it is. I'm off it. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I mean, I could see, I guess, why some people still think Cat is stronger for those reasons, but I feel like Luffy's growth should not be underestimated. Just in general, when he gets beat up and then recovers from it, and then, of course, now he has Future Sight from the beginning. If he can withstand 12 hours, regardless of how plot-induced that is, even if he didn't start off stronger, now he starts off way stronger than he did in the first fight, and now, if he needs to, he still has those other 12 hours to improve, so there's no way Cat's gonna, beat him by the end of it. And then he learned Rio after that, so it's GG.
I think based on how the first fight went. You have to include those like you have to include everything that transpired there in the second fight. But the thing is, it's kind of using a bunch of illogical shit to come to like a logical conclusion, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, the 11-12 hour thing, yeah, but that doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And like even when we got back to him right before Flampe used her attack, they're like, oh, he's on his last leg. It's about to be over. Like he's like a baby fawn. Like it's just like everything was just really convenient for Luffy to overcome it. Even the merienda, when then Luffy's like, oh, it's not that about you. It's just your like.
And people are wondering if this is the beginning of some sort of shift in portrayal in terms of Luffy's endurance. Like, this is now when he's truly an endurance monster, durability monster. But then Kaido, he one-shot him, and people are like, all right, it's okay because it's Kaido. But then Apu happened. And even though he was knocked out for just like a tiny bit, he still got knocked out. Yeah.
People
So
saying that damn, Apu has more attack power than Katakuri.
than Katakuri for 12 hours straight. And it's kind of like that was the waking point where it's like, all right, yeah, it wasn't just because it was Kaido. It's just
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
But like I said, it is what it is, man. I'm not I'm not gonna fight it. If people feel that way, they feel that way. It is what it is.
Yeah. It's just it goes into the whole people downplay Luffy, quote unquote, and then people hype him up. So it's just like so many people give their opinions that people are already like on this defensive mode where it's like people shit on Luffy. They said he couldn't even beat Cracker, and so they're like out to like prove that Luffy's that guy in any situation.
Yeah,
and so they just like use anything they can.
I'm basically labeled the Luffy hater just because I kind of point out things about him that I don't feel like make sense. And I'm like, bro, like you I understand you guys really like Luffy's the main character. I like Luffy as well, but it's like I can still point out and understand when shit just is not flying, right? Like I don't think that's a problem. A lot of people make it that way, so it's
yeah, it just shows massive insecurity. Like, do you really love your series if you can't look at the flaws and still be okay with it?
Exactly.
But yeah, let's move on with the chapter.
Yeah.
So Queen stops them, which is like, all right, he's being somewhat competent, good for him.
Yeah.
And he's actually like chomping down on them. So I don't know if Luffy or Zoro used haki in this scene because invisible haki's a thing. But it's pretty impressive that they fucking got chomped down by Queen and they took minimal damage.
But it also shows how large Queen is in that form too, right?
Yeah, that's a big neck.
Yeah,
that's a big neck.
That's a really big, thick neck.
Yep.
Like he's huge in that form. Like they can fit in his mouth, which is insane, actually.
That is pretty insane. And if Sanji does fight Queen, it's like with him being so huge, is he gonna like just bounce around him like a fly? Like he's so much smaller than him. I guess he's not going to use that full form because for someone like Sanji who specializes in mobility, he can just circle around to his back and just keep doing that, and it'll just be super annoying for Queen.
Would that be a convenient way for Queen to go down?
Yeah, very convenient. Yeah.
Where he fights Raid Suit Sanji in his full zone mode.
Queen happens to be one of those people that doesn't have a hybrid form. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no, let's not. Let's not say that. But in the midst of that, that's when the numbers are getting obliterated by Frankie. Right, Frankie's radical beam.
Let's finish this chapter real quick and then we'll go to the numbers. So Sanji gets up. It shows he's pretty fucked up because his head is like down. He's like slumped over. So like he's clearly not getting up fine. Like it hurt him, but he's fairly good. He's not gonna go into this war being super nerfed or anything. But this was something that people were like, Sanji tanked that attack and it didn't affect him at all, and that's clearly not the case.
It definitely affected him. But it was I guess the damage was kind of minimal to the point that he's like upset and pissed off at the suit. He's like, damn, like that should hurt a lot more than it did.
Yeah.
Where it hurt, but it's like it would take a lot more to kind of defeat Sanji, where I feel like Oda's kind of playing up the raid suit here, which I'm like, the raid suit is pretty durable unless it's like candy bullets, I guess.
That's the one weakness.
one weakness of the raid suits,
Yep.
where it can tank like a fucking attack from a first commander, but candy bullets, that's where it is.
So
That's a
I got a
joke
question for
line.
you. What do you think is more impressive? Tanking a beak attack from King with the momentum of him flying into you and smashing into something, or tanking a chomp from Queen? Because obviously it isn't the same momentum, but it is sharp teeth.
Um, I think the queen, the king thing is probably more impressive, just because of the context of the situation, in which the Luffy and Zoro thing feels more of a gag.
I feel
Like
that.
if yeah, it kind of
I don't
felt
even know
like
if I should count it
okay.
because it should feel like if they're not hocking up, Queen should, do more damage to that with a fucking bite.
Yeah, but it feels like it was just like one of those things. 'Cause it didn't feel threatening. Like I wasn't worried for Zoro and Luffy here, even though like Queen was biting down on him. It was like,
Yeah, and the fact that he like threw them over instead of continuing to chomp down on
continuing
them.
to do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like what. So it's just like I don't know if they were using hockey, he wasn't affecting them, so then he tried to throw them out. I don't fucking know, but it's just like, all right, whatever. It's just a way to stop him from going up to Kaido. Cool.
yeah. Let's just move on. So the
That's what
Straw
it
Hats
is.
are, in the little group pose. I like this. They had that
Oh,
little moment with Jinbei before they
yeah,
reached Onigashima, but this is cooler because, of course, now they're actually in a serious battle and they're ready to get
yeah,
shit done. So I
yeah,
like
and
that moment.
I don't know, but I think Sanji should like wear gloves past Wano.
You do.
I think the gloves are cold.
I
I really like
uh
the
I
gloves.
personally don't like them, but I like Sanji's suits in general.
You don't like the gloves? Oh man, I've been hearing so many positive remarks about the gloves. I just feel like it fits him perfectly. Where he cherishes his hands, so it's like he's wearing gloves so that he doesn't touch filth.
I
Almost
I
on some
get that.
like what's his name? Overhaul from My Hero. I don't know if you read
Yeah,
that.
I don't read My Hero.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know. I think it fits him really well.
Yeah, I get that. It's just aesthetically, I just don't like gloves in general.
Ah, gotcha. It's a personal thing.
Yeah. Yeah, with the next chapter, the good chapter. So we start
The
off
good
with
chapter.
the good chapter, yeah. So we start off with Sasaki talking about Big Mom doing the crazy flying slash. And this just reaffirms how impressive just the range of flying slashes are. Because I know you think Steeble's a troll for the Streusen hype. And I know some people, they're like, Zoro cut stone. How are you going to hype him cutting a Pika? You just cut rock. But even if he didn't cut anything, just him having that range with the slash shows how impressive it is. Because the way I see it, it's like an anime logic. Like, the stronger your slash is, the more time it will take for the strength to wane. Like, if your
Right.
attack is weak, like, it'll travel like 10 feet or something, and then the strength will dissipate. So,
It
Sasaki's
seems
like,
like this
that.
attack for Big Mom might be top three strongest we've seen in One Piece.
I don't know because, for example, like Kizaru and Rayleigh clashing, I would say that's comparable for sure, but it's not
You
as
think
made to
so?
be as big as. Yeah, I do. You don't think so?
Why you say that? Because the mangrove?
No, I'm talking about their sword clashes because Kizaru, he was able to hold down Whitebeard's glaive. So for me, that signifies that he has comparable physical strength to Whitebeard, and then Whitebeard was able to clash equally with Shanks. So it tells me like
Oh,
they're all
okay.
around that like level of physical strength.
Well, the Whitebeard thing is weird because I don't think Whitebeard at that point was peak physical strength. So I think, and I think at that point with Shanks and Whitebeard clashing, personally, I think if Shanks wanted to overpower him, he could.
I
Because at
don't
that
know
point,
about that.
I think Shanks was just blocking the attack instead of him on the offensive. That makes sense.
I saw it
Um,
as more of a clash.
yeah, I think it is a clash, but I think at that point, Whitebeard kind of initiated it. You know what I mean? Like he's the one that kind of initiated the clash. It was just like, all right, at this point, I'm just trying to block it, as opposed to trying to overpower him. Because I don't think Whitebeard was the strongest at that point at all. Like I think like he would lose to so many people.
Well,
When I
I
say
think
so
that's a fair
many,
opinion. I mean, I think all the
yeah,
admirals are stronger than him, but I feel like his physical strength, regardless if he's not overall the strongest, because I think his main weaknesses at that point were endurance and stamina, not so much physical strength.
right. So that's what I'm saying. Where in moments he could probably tap into that peak physical strength, right? But I think over time, that's why I think the admirals could get a leg up on him from time to time, because that endurance and stamina that factors into him as a combatant, where you can't tap into that physical strength as much as you'd like to, especially with the you call them heart attacks or whatever. So I think at that point, the Kizaru thing is still impressive, but it's just we kind of have to factor in that Whitebeard was not Whitebeard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's
But
one of those
understand what you're saying.
situations where you just can't tell, and it's pointless
Yeah.
to get into debate about it because people are going to be so headstrong with one side of it that they're just
Absolutely.
going to like try to like scramble up, like, just like weasel up whatever evidence they can or whatever reasoning they can. And it's just like, bro, like it's impossible to tell. Like, why are you going so hard with it?
No, I feel that. Wait, how do you feel about Rayleigh though? Like, where do you think peak Rayleigh is?
I
I'm
think
interested.
he's almost Roger's equal. I have this mindset that when it comes to legendary captains, and this isn't like because Kid kind of contradicts this in a sense, but I feel like if your right hand is closer to you, like the closer the right hand is to you, the more indication it is of you being that guy. And I feel like it goes with Luffy and Zoro too, where Zoro is going to be probably the only right hand that's closer to the captain than Rayleigh to signify, all right, Luffy's just that legendary. Like he surpassed Roger because he's stronger than Roger, and even Zoro was like pretty much his equal, even more so than Rayleigh was, and that just shows like he's like truly the strongest of all time or whatever.
I personally don't think Luffy will ever be the strongest of all time because of physical strength. I think a lot of Luffy's feats are gonna be basically it's gonna come down to his quote unquote true power and having people help him. So it's like
You think you'll surpass Roger though, right?
I think he'll accomplish things for people to think he surpassed Roger. I just don't think his peak strength will ever surpass Roger or Whitebeard. I think Oda may go the route of Luffy and basically again him having people help him to get through some of these moments.
Well,
Yeah, I think he may do that. I mean, he could definitely be like the strongest ever, right? But it seems like that's not the route Luffy's been going because all of Luffy's fights, it's always been kind of supported by people.
well, you have to keep in mind that yes, he's getting help, but at the same time, I don't think anyone has ever been close to the point Luffy's at as young as Luffy is, and I think that's kind of the silver lining that he's doing this at such a young age that even though he's getting help, it is kind of like GOAT status.
Another side of it is that also for him to achieve this, he's sacrificing a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you know, where it's like that drawback is a lot of drawbacks, and we're not sure how that ties into lifespan, right? But he's basically he has a huge drawback for this sudden increase in power, and I feel like because it's shonen, I don't factor that in too much because it literally doesn't make sense. But you know, I understand that point.
Yeah, and just how I see things in general, like for Zoro, and I know some people might think this is wild, but I consider Roger a swordsman, and I think Miyako is actually stronger than Roger because I have this thing in my mind where you know Mobu versus Kanmei, how it was like set up like the top one versus top two, they fight for the strongest of all time.
Right.
Yeah, I see Zoro and Mihawk being like that, where the top one swordsman of all time, the top two swordsmen of all time, they fight to decide who's top one. That's how I see it. And so I feel like if Zoro's going to get that much clout, then of course Luffy should get a lot of clout too.
Do you think peak Zoro will be strong? Peak Zoro and Luffy will be stronger than Roger?
Yep. Honestly, like, this might sound blasphemous to some people, but I think quite a few people are stronger than Roger. Like, for example, I think Akainu is. I think Dragon is. I think Emu is. Not too many more other than that. Like, maybe end of series Blackbeard, end of series Kid. But I don't think Roger and Whitebeard at their primes are meant to be the pinnacle.
That is definitely a hot take.
Yeah, that's for sure. Especially with old Whitebeard still being considered the strongest.
Yeah, that's definitely a hot take, man. I mean, I got Whitebeard as top one at like all time, but because I don't see as physical a monster as he is in regard as well as his Devil Fruit anyone overcoming that. in like a 1v1 fight. But
Yeah, but then Roger doesn't have the double fruit and he still is equal somehow, so it's like, does that really matter?
his equal in terms of status, I guess.
Well, I'm not even saying like completely equal. Like he's strong enough to where he fights him evenly enough for people to consider him equals, even if it's not like perfect equal. You know what I mean? Like I don't care if someone considers Whitebeard stronger than Roger.
Yeah, I think it's so weird with One Piece with like these things because you can justify anything, right? You can just, as long as you can string some shit together.
If you
because it's like yeah, because like with Whitebeard and Roger, it's like, oh well, Whitebeard is always fighting with his crew around. He can't like unleash as much as you'd like to.
Roger has a sickness. You know, if he wasn't sick, it's over for Whitebeard.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, Crocus said he was 100%, so you know, it's like it's so weird because it's always something you can kind of say to kind of just.
Then people use Roger's sickness and be like, "See, this is why Whitebeard wasn't that nerfed in Marineford."
Yeah, bro, it's so. Where it's like not the same thing at all, at all.
I mean, I don't know if we could say that. It's just so fucking vague.
I think the difference in regards to Roger when he fought Whitebeard, as opposed to Whitebeard at Marineford, is pretty much with Whitebeard, he was on, I don't want to say life support, but he was aided by machines, right? He obviously needed it. Where Roger, he was to the point that Crocus was saying, okay, this is peak. He's in his peak right now. Like he doesn't need anything. He's fine. Where I think over time, past that fight with Whitebeard, it started to affect him a lot more. Obviously, we saw with like when Shanks was like listening to him and stuff. But I think that Whitebeard that was at Marineford was clearly past what Roger was when he fought Whitebeard for the last time.
Yeah, we also have to factor in age. So I guess what I'm getting at is if Whitebeard was in his prime with the sickness, would it be like the Roger situation where you would pretty much consider him 100%?
Oh, okay. Maybe. If he was in his prime, yeah. If he was a lot younger, maybe the sickness would not affect him as much. But like you said, it's vague.
Yeah, so that's why I say at the end of the day, like, Whitebeard's nerf is mostly towards endurance and stamina. Like, he could fight near his prime level for a short amount of time. But then you would get into the argument of, like,
from time to time.
You'd get into the argument of, like, at Marineford, not that much time passed, so you can argue he was near his prime level for that battle because, you know, he didn't fight that long.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what with Whitebeard, he can tap into his prime moments, right? Where I feel like he did that.
You know, when he wanted to avenge his dead son, you know, he's definitely tapping into his prime right there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we strayed a bit too much off just one comment of Big Mom and her flying air slash.
Right.
So he says him and Kyoshu were friends, which is cool because it kind of backs up him not killing Sasaki. And I know people before this, they were like, he should have killed him. It doesn't make any sense. But the way I saw it is I kind of thought it was cool in a sense how it showed some depth from Denjiro where he's like, all right, you have nothing to do with this. So I'm not going to be so petty that I'm going to kill you just because you're involved if I don't have to. You know, because you have no malice towards Odin or what happened to Wano. You're just here because circumstance. So it's like he's not looking at it super black and whitely. But now that we know that they're close friends, it kind of just gives even more justification to not kill him.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense. It definitely makes a lot more sense with him not killing him and just tying him up. Like, because apparently they're really close friends, you know? So I like that. I actually did like that a lot. That kind of tied in.
Yeah, and you said in your live reaction that this confirms Sasaki versus Denjiro or something. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but because I think Denjiro should be too strong for Sasaki personally, but
really,
yeah, because I don't think he would react the same way to the flying slash, given Zoro had an insane flying slash of his own against Pika, and then Denjiro was able to compete with Zoro.
You think Zoro's flying slash is comparable to Big Mom's?
See, this is gonna like stray into a whole like bunch of fuck shit because man, this goes into the whole Luffy versus Kaido thing because some people argue he only got one shot because he got hit in the dome and Luffy can somewhat contend with Kaido's physical strength, and in like Whole Cake, Luffy actually clashed evenly with Big Mom with Gear 3rd and I think Zoro's attack power is well over Gear Third. So it's like, is it just inconsistency?
Evenly.
I mean, yeah, her attack got stopped.
Are you talking about when she attacked him with Sanji? When he stopped with Sanji as well? That attack?
Yeah.
I mean, it was both of them though.
I mean, I wouldn't say Sanji's attack power is anywhere near Gear Third. You think it is?
I would say it's comparable to Gear Third. Yeah.
My reasoning would be that Gear Third, it was able to clash evenly with Cat's Power Mochi or whatever that was. And we saw that was a move that Cat would use against Gear Fourth. So I don't think Gear Third is that much behind Gear Fourth in terms of attack power. And we saw that Gear Fourth was able to send Doffy flying across Dressrosa while a Sanji kick like didn't even move Doffy an inch.
Yeah, I think with the attack powers, those are really inconsistent. But normally how Oda tries to do it is like, all right, two people attack at the same time. They're probably using comparable attacks, like with the kid thing he did in Sub Odi. I mean, the attack power thing is really vague, and it's like that is a unique way to justify it with Big Mom and Zoro possibly having the same amount of attack power as Big Mom. I don't see that yet though.
No, that's fair. I mean, even if I think my reasoning is sound, it's just it could be One Piece inconsistencies.
Yeah,
so it's hard to say.
Because it's Gear Third thing. It's like, because then we're saying that Zoro, we could say Zoro has more attack power than Luffy because Luffy Gear Third was Fujitora, right? Zoro was able to push him back.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, and I rate Zoro super highly too. So I'm wondering how you would react if you saw one of my tier lists. It would be kind of funny. Save that for another time. That for another time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just that. Like, I'm not necessarily saying it's exactly equal to Big Mom's, but the way you worded it, like, what sort of power does she have to reach us all the way out here? Like, even if it's not exactly strong enough to go out to the shore or like be equal to her attack power, I think he could reach it to where the tree was. I don't know. That's how I see it.
It's kind of lofty expectations.
Hey, man, Pika's kind of a big dude, you know?
Oh, man. Is Orlumbus there?
Is Usopp there? Does he need to save Usopp?
Oh, man. That's funny.
But back to you saying the Sasaki Denjiro thing.
Yeah.
I think the main thing that shits on me saying they won't fight is that Who's Who basically ran around in circles. So if this isn't set up for them to fight, did this have to happen for Sasaki to get out of the plot? I mean, he could have just ran around in circles too.
Maybe, but I think this is Oda just. Sometimes Oda's pretty blatant with foreshadows and things that he wants to happen. So this could be one of those things, or he could just like try to throw us off. But I just feel like it's just an easy matchup for Kyoshiro. Him fighting Sasaki. They're friends, whatever. It's a cool thing. I just don't know what else would be there for him. You know what I mean? Like what else does Oda want to do with Sasaki at this point?
I mean, I don't really agree with that. Well, I'm not necessarily sure what you're saying. If you're saying there's not really any other matchups that make sense, or if you're saying you just don't know because there's so many people that could require good feats, like any of the scabbards, like so many people from the Alliance that you can just give them Sasaki and it's like, here, they have a feat. Like, this is basically like feat heaven for our Alliance in a sense. So you can literally go to anyone.
I think what I mean is that it wouldn't make much sense for to have him fight a scabbard and not fight Kyoshiro. Like, if you have him fight a scabbard, just let it be Kyoshiro.
I feel that.
You know what I mean? Like, he could fight, because I'm assuming he's a fishman, could fight Kawamatsu, I guess. Right? And that could be like a thing, but I mean, I don't know how much relevance Kawamatsu is going to have. I think Denjiro is going to have a lot more than Kawamatsu going forward. And it's like, if you're going to have him fight a scabbard, it might as well just be Kyoshiro because they have history and it's been built up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I see
That's just how I'm looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just move on past that. There's no point in dwelling on it too much.
Yeah.
So we go to Kaido and he's just chilling there. And
NPC.
this is one of the problems I have with the chapter. Because why are you just chilling there? Like, okay, I can get the mindset of, I'm that guy, like, you have to prove you can get to me. But
Right.
if that's the case, you shouldn't have acknowledged them and then gone to the roof to begin with. That was kind of the point of him going to the roof, that he acknowledged that he wants to fight them. So
Yeah.
you would think if he acknowledges them, he wants to fight them at full strength instead of them getting worn down and then finally getting to him. You know? So I just
Yeah,
don't
but
think
to
it
be
makes
fair-
much sense.
They're just standing there as well, you know.
Yeah, that is very true.
It's like a standoff where like their underlings, I guess, are fighting for them, and they're just watching it unfold until they fight. You know, so it's logically in war, this doesn't make sense, but it's just a cool thing in shonen where both bosses or both main figures are standing just watching each other while their underlings fight. So then after the smoke clears, then you get the final matchup. That's how I was looking at it.
Yeah. And it's another one of those moments where it didn't really bother me. Like for me, especially if a chapter has many good points to it, it's even easier to forget about the bad things. So it's kind of
Yeah.
just something I skim by and I'm noticing like, that's weird, and then I just move on past it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
it was just like it was like all right, they're fighting, cool. And they're just standing there, okay.
Yeah, pretty much. And then we see Jack being fucked up. It's kind of surprising that he's getting more fucked up against the
Them than
fodder
the
minks
minks.
than the Dukes. It's like I
Yeah,
guess
the
that just
Dukes.
goes to show how powerful Sulong is.
Too long, yeah.
So then they
for sure.
should fuck Jack up, but I don't know. Jack's an endurance monster, so I can see him like
He's
just
not yeah,
surviving.
He'll be fine. Jack will be fine. Like I said, he looks a lot more fucked up than when he was fighting the Dukes.
Yeah, I'm just happy that we got the matchup in general, because people before this were like, okay, the fact that the Dukes they left it to the other guys and they move on past is confirmation that the matchup isn't happening. So
But
Oda's
it's happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's happening, which
Even
I like
with the-
because
this-
substance
the-
to it.
Yeah, even with the small fry jumping, I was like, obviously they're gonna fight him. they're definitely gonna fight him. So
My thing was just like, why even have that there? Just have them fight him or start the fight in the other chapter.
yeah, why bring Jack up there and not have him fight the Dukes? Like it's right there. Like let it happen. But I guess one of my things is like, why would you have Odin and Rayleigh in the same battle and not have them fight each other? And that didn't happen. So
Yeah, that 3 days thing was very weird. It sparked up a lot of discussion. I'll say that.
yeah, because Whitebeard's fletchlings, like he had a very, very young crew. And
Yeah,
they tied
and
with the Pirate King's
Even
crew.
that was weird because at one point Marco looked like he was 11, and then he looked like he was 19, like the next chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they said that they didn't fight, right? Did you
Did-
say that? Marco
did
didn't
they?
fight, right?
I don't know if I remember
Was it
that.
Marco? I think it was like
Nah.
Marco and Shanks and them didn't fight.
I
Or
think it
Shanks
was.
didn't fight.
Yeah, I think it was Shanks. And then yeah, because that went to him just realizing Blackbeard doesn't
'Cause-
sleep.
Well, they said the apprentices didn't fight.
So do you think Marco was an apprentice?
At that point, yeah.
I don't know, because if he was really like 19 instead of being 11, I could see him being one of Whitebeard's top guys.
Well, I think he was definitely 11 though,
You think he was 11?
because at that point, Marco's like 45 now, right? That's what he said. Marco's 45 or something.
I
like that.
have no idea.
So like, yeah, he was definitely like very young. Yeah, Marco is currently 45. Yeah, he's 45. So yeah, he was 11 back then.
Yeah, he was pretty fucking
So-
young.
Yeah, so I don't think I forgot exactly what they said, but I believe they said something to the effect that we didn't fight. Something like that. Where Shanks and Blackbeard, where we assumed Shanks and Blackbeard fought. I mean, they looked fucked up, which is weird.
Did
But
they? I don't remember that.
yeah, Buggy they had like bandages and shit.
Oh yeah, true. I was thinking of like bloodstains. Then I remember like
Yeah.
classic Oda bandages.
Yeah, they got bandages, but Garp had a bandage in Marineford.
Sengoku had bandages and he didn't do anything. He punched Luffy and that hurt him.
Maybe Blackbeard did a lot more damage than we thought.
Maybe. But I don't even know if he really fought him like that in the manga. So who knows?
Yeah, yeah. Who knows with that? But I forgot what we were saying.
We're on the Jack thing. So the next thing is King and Queen. I really like the way this is worded. I hope it's not changed in the official where he's like, at this point, I've already set my expectations so low, it's hard to get mad when you fail. That's like the perfect level of sass for me. If it's something like more bland in the officials, I'm going to be kind of bummed out. But I like King in general this chapter. He was exhibiting that right-hand man energy, as one would say. He was making sure things are falling into place, making sure to get shit done, and even like wishing people luck. Like he's showing more personality this chapter than he has in the previous ones.
I feel like King has suddenly been doing things like this, trying to like organize things. But this is kind of like one of the more blatant times where it's just, all right, he's trying to make sure that things are fine. You know, calling off the hunt for Yamato. Like it doesn't matter, bro. Like we have like it's war at this point. You know, so it's I did like that a lot.
Yeah, I feel like that's something pretty much everyone liked in the chapter. I don't think anyone had complaints on that.
Like you said, the dialogue, it's perfect, right? What he said to Queen. But we know with the Viz, they normally dumb it down or make it a lot more, I guess we can say a bit cheesy.
Yeah, something that targets like the preteen audience.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like this. I think they definitely changed this.
I think so too, which is unfortunate. But it would still be this dialogue in my heart. That's what counts.
Yeah, facts. This is one we will acknowledge.
Yep. So we see Drake, and did you find this scene weird at all? Did you think this is executed well?
I love the scene. I think the only issue is that I feel like Oda left things out for the anime here. Where you could argue that the jump from Who's Who asking to pay Queen to visit and that dialogue there was weird, right? Because it said, let's pay Queen a visit. Don't drag me into it. Are you trying to weaken our forces? And it's, even if he's here, he'd only be a pain in the ass. I don't really feel like it. And it's like, huh? And then the next time we see Drake, he's fucked up and Queen's there, and it's like, okay, something happened. So I agree. It was a bit sloppy, right? That whole jump. But I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what Oda is going, if he's gonna go back or if this is just an anime thing.
I guess it really
shows everything.
I guess it really depends on how far away from Queen they were, because like you said, like Drake was being resistant, and if they had like a 5-minute walk to Queen, it's like you didn't agree with wanting to take out Queen in the first place, and you're like questioning why he even wants to do it. So are you just not gonna question him further, and you're gonna like walk for 5 minutes that entire time? You're not gonna question him at all. All. Like he could answer you in like 10 seconds, but you're just gonna walk with him 5 minutes straight, just silent. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's a weird jump, and you just leave it up to like imagination and speculation. But I really like the outcome.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
I like just the concept of them finding Drake out.
Yes.
So, and this is kind of hypocritical for me in a sense, because I didn't like the execution of it, but I like the concept, and I'm someone that has high hopes for Drake, and I just like seeing Drake panel time. So even if it's like not quality in the sense execution wise, I still liked it. But this goes back to the Straw Hats thing where I didn't care about that at all, and I guess it's just because I'm more invested in Drake than the Straw Hats. So in that sense, I could see why people, actually like the last chapter. They're just more invested in the other Straw Hats than I am.
Straw Hats, right.
And something that I also didn't like about the execution is like they made it seem so obvious that, okay, you saved Law, like obviously we're gonna know it was you, or obviously we were gonna know something's up and like be able to trace it back. It just seems like if it's that obvious, and I'm someone that speculated that Drake was one of the smartest supernova, so for him to not like think about that and be like, okay, if I do this, they're gonna be very suspicious, so I have to be on guard. And it seemed like it didn't even cross his mind.
I wonder with that, because they're making it, we don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
Right? So if we knew what happened, it would be easier to assess this. Because I don't know what happened, like all right, I'm assuming Drake did something that was specific to either a flying six member or someone of his caliber, right? Either an attack or something he did that Hawkins knew it was X Drake.
I assume
Because
it's just because of where he was. Like, he was the only one next to Hawkins, and like he was around the area or something.
maybe it could be that where Hawkins knew Drake was the only one around. Drake was the only one who knew where they were, right? Maybe that was a thing. Maybe Drake was the only person that knew that. But it's like we really don't know exactly what. But so it's hard to say, like, how smart he was with that, because I don't know exactly what went down. All we know is that Law at some point got the upper hand on Hawkins and he won the fight, obviously using Drake's help. But I'm not sure exactly what.
I don't even know if there was a fight. Like, honestly, it could just be that Drake just whacked him in the head and Hawkins, fell asleep. And then when he woke up, Law, like, cut him with his power just to make sure. Yeah.
Maybe that could have definitely happened, because Hawkins at this point, he has a bandage around his head, right?
Yeah, he's like bleeding and shit. You wouldn't expect a sword slash to do that. And then like Law slashes. Yeah, to begin with, they don't really inflict damage.
So yeah, it makes more sense for him to get ambushed, or caught off guard by someone, and X Drake being in the vicinity or just knowing where they were, and he's like, "You're the only person who knew this, right? I didn't tell anybody else where I was going." So that could be it. And like you said, if that's the case, then either X Drake miscalculated or that was just dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that compounded with the whole, if he's walking with him for 5 minutes and not questioning anything, like, like, I don't like it, but I'm so looking forward to Drake that I didn't really care that much.
Like you, I'm a huge X Drake fan. I think he impressed me in Saboti, and I like his demeanor. I like how he goes about his business. So
plus, just the way his backstory's set up, he's one of those characters that Oda's gonna focus more on his morality. When that's usually the case, it's usually a character that Oda cares about.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he's a Marine and he's doing all this, and he could have given up. Like, yo, I'm blown. I'm out of here. He's like, nah, I still want to accomplish this.
Yeah,
so whatever this is, I'm really interested in. Yes, exactly. So I'm not sure if that whole thing he said about not caring about, Doflamingo killing his dad, if that's real, if he wants to get back at Kaido or whatever. But whatever it is, he really wants to accomplish it.
Yeah, I think it's just like some grand like peace goal or something. Basically, he's a good guy, and that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I like Drake. Really like Drake.
Yeah, like you said, like his demeanor is pretty cool too. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
that's a question about who's who.
Yeah, shoot.
Do you think he really wants to fight Queen?
This is another one of those things that, like, this chapter is just packed with interesting things to think about and like speculate, and this is another one of them. It's like his whole that whole setup could have just been for this subversion.
Yes.
So whose entire character could be misconstrued in our minds, which is interesting to me. So honestly,
it could be misconstrued, but it also could be.
I think it's
doing all this. Yeah, he could be doing all this to get Queen by himself, or have him lower his guard.
I don't even know if it necessarily has to be like that. It could just be that he wants to do it the honorable way and just beat him straight up. So he's like, I'm gonna gain favor and like show how loyal I am, and then when the time comes, I'll do the actual the challenge and beat Queen straight up. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. It makes you think about it, because I've always said that. Well, initially when this storyline got set up with Queen fighting who's who and all that, I was like, it's never gonna get to the point where they're fighting, right? That's never gonna happen.
Unless like who's who is just so much of a psychopath that he's like, I don't care about this war.
Right.
Which is kind of justified because they have Kaido, so they're like, it doesn't matter because whatever happens, Kaido will win the war.
You would hope so. I mean, I think there's still more that Oda is going to show in regards to who's who. He's been saving him a bit too much, where we literally don't know anything about his fighting style. So I'm like, all right, what is he saving him for? Even with everything going on with Luffy, Kid, Yamato, like he wasn't a part of any of that. conveniently. So I'm like, okay, what is he saving who specifically for? And I wouldn't be surprised if he actually fought Queen in the midst of everything going on. I mean, I remember I talked about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, honestly. I feel like he's crazy enough to where it could happen. And it would be interesting.
Yeah,
It'd be one of those things where it's like, it's convenient, but it's one of those conveniences that
you would like.
Yeah, because that's his character. Like, you can't just say he can't be his character, you know?
Yeah, that's what's been set up to be, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
100%.
But yeah, it's interesting. I'm excited for Who's Who as well.
Facts. Absolutely. Where are we? Do you want to talk about the Straw Hat thing? Them versus the fodder or the numbers?
Yeah, sure. So, one of my biggest complaints for Wano has been gathering up the fodder. I feel like it was pointless in a sense because One Piece, it doesn't come down to fodder, it just comes down to which one of the big guns beats the other big guns. So, I'm not going to get into that because I feel like it's one of those repetitive topics that is pointless to keep bringing up, but I feel like if you're going to go through all this trouble to gather the fodder, you might as well show some fighting. And it just like sets up the tone, like this is a war, shit's going on, which is fine. And then the Straw Hats, you know, Zoro neg-diffs an attack from one of those numbers, and then Jinbei does the same. And for me, I don't care about this exact situation where they're basing themselves getting stronger off the numbers. Like, I don't care that they're as strong as the Oars because at this point the Straw Hats are so much stronger than Oars that it's whatever. But I just like the general concept of the Straw Hats thinking back to how strong they were and then being satisfied with the growth they had. So I liked it in a sense.
It was it felt like a moment for me where it's like, and going back to like think about 989 and the mention of the ancient giant race, and I thought about the Florian Triangle as well, and those large things we saw and all that. It was like, I feel like Oda is just, it's almost like a nostalgic trip, you know,
in a sense. Yeah,
it made you think about all that. So it was a really cool moment, even though in the grand scheme of things, it's like, all right, it's whatever. They should be able to do this easily, but
and they've had like so many impressive moments before this. It's like you didn't like look back at your growth then, but you're doing it now. But in general, like I said, I just like the idea of them looking back at how strong they are and then being satisfied with how much stronger they've gotten.
Yeah, I loved it. The Wisdom King.
Yeah, man. I mean, I have no idea what that's about. People are saying like Sun Wukong. I'm not really sure, but again, this is another one of those things. It's like it could be massive, and this chapter is just filled with interesting tidbits to think about, and this is definitely one of them. So we'll see where it goes. I'm not really sure, but it could be some Sun Wukong related thing. I don't know who he's being compared to at all, and I didn't really like bother to speculate on it that much.
Is this one that you wait for the official to kind of double deeper, or?
Nah, it's just a mindset I have in general with One Piece ever since Whole Cake, where I was like let down by Whole Cake, and ever since then I just haven't really bothered to super theorize about everything. I'm just like waiting to see what happens.
Got it.
Well, what'd you think about it?
It's funny because somebody that translated was going to talk to him about like exactly what it meant. But it's, I think somebody said that the Wisdom King, when they did research, is basically someone who, through their actions, they basically made people believe in them. Right? That's like somebody, ancient lore or whatever, where like that's literally what Luffy does. Like just through his actions, people just start believing. So
Wouldn't it seem weird for, like, I don't know, because he's like basing this off of appearance, right? So it would have to be someone from Wano. So if there's someone like legendary in Wano that we knew nothing about, like at this point, who's even a candidate? Like maybe Zoro's father, you know, like maybe him. Like I don't know. Like I don't know anyone in Wano who could like be a candidate for being this like big guy, like this big deal, and then it just.
So what made me think about it as well was, is Oda finally going to give us the origins of Luffy's devil fruit?
So you think someone from Wano had Luffy's devil fruit?
Possibly.
Because wasn't Kinemon in his introduction, like he reacted to a devil fruit or something, and he was just like surprised, like he didn't really see devil fruits before?
Where but the thing is, I don't know if they knew it was a devil fruit form, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. It's a good point.
Where it's like, oh my god, that's the Wisdom King. Where it could be a situation where it could have been not even a person, it could have been an animal or deity, like with Gyukimaru or something. But what I think it has so many tentacles because this could lead to like, all right, was somebody else using gears back then with Luffy's fruit?
Yeah, I mean, I know some people they have the mindset of like Luffy's such a genius that he came up with
Yeah,
gears and no one else could. It's like
yeah.
I don't know, bro.
I'm like, if somebody else could do that, that kind of fucks up that whole thing, right? It's like, yo,
Yeah.
that's just a natural progression of the fruit, right?
I mean, I never cared about that to begin with, but it would just be funny seeing Luffy fanboy reactions.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, Luffy's not a genius. He's having it. But it leads to a lot of thoughts in
Yeah.
regards to what this could mean, and that's one of the reasons why I think this chapter was like almost a perfect chapter to me, just based off of not only it's not just hype, it's just so much. It felt packed, like jam packed with so many things you could talk about.
Yeah, like this is one of One Piece's strengths, and
Yeah.
if you like that aspect, you are for sure gonna love this chapter. And it's one of those chapters that like people that deeply theorize, like they can go on for a while theorizing about this chapter. Like they could come up with
Oh,
so many
yeah.
possibilities.
Oh yeah, like I think how Oda's kind of focusing on the numbers and to bringing back the Oars thing, the ancient giant race. I mean, the only thing you need now to like, because there's so many references from Thriller Bark, to bring Moria here. Just bring him back. Like,
Might as well.
you might as well at this point, you know. The Wisdom King thing with Luffy, you could speculate with the Sasaki, and we talk about the Kirishiro thing.
Orochi thing with the wah.
Orochi with the Orochi and the Shinsengumi or Hote and Fukurokuju. It's a lot that happened in this chapter that you could really just go off the deep end with.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think about the Orochi thing in general? Because I had some
I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, I kind of don't think so either.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
something about Orochi's character that's weird for me is you remember how he said he basically wants to destroy all of Wano, right?
Yeah.
But
Make
then
him pay.
like he basically had like such a feud against everyone. It seemed like he would hate everyone. But then when it was at like his party and shit, he was like, this isn't heaven, but this is still a great place. Like he basically wants people to enjoy themselves in the flower capital at least. Like he's like bothering to set up parties for people. So in a sense, I feel like he's lost his anger and he kind of likes Wano now and he likes being
He enjoys
a
his
ruler.
position. Yeah, he enjoys his position. Where, you know, I don't think Orochi's necessarily a good person, but I think he's really he's very selfish, and it's all he's gotten to the point where because of where he's gotten to, he's starting to believe the hype. So for him, it's all like, all right, as long as things are good around me, I don't care. But like I said, he enjoyed the power, enjoyed the women, all that.
But it's not even like, just about him enjoying it. It's like he wants other people to enjoy themselves too.
I think it adds to him because it feels like, all right, people are enjoying him as well.
That's true.
So it's kind of adding to his ego.
But what I was getting to is I could see a moment where he gets kind of a redemption in a sense. Like they actually don't kill him and he's like, I like Wano now or something. And maybe they even forgive him. I don't know. I wouldn't like that, but I could see it.
I can see him actually helping Wano in the future, right? Just being a part of society. Wouldn't like that at all, but it just depends on what he brings to the table.
I would detest that.
Yeah, because it's like he did a lot of dumb shit.
Yeah, and then he wasn't really justified for any of it. His reasons were pretty poor.
Yeah.
But at the very least, if he's...
to be fair.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's a product of Wano's culture.
Yeah, in a sense, but it's like he just threw what his grandfather did under the rug like it didn't matter. And what everyone else did to his grandfather was so like evil, but you know, he only looks at things black and whitely, and then he apparently wants to punish everyone from Wano, even though it was just like a small group of people. Like you can't really control everyone. Like people are gonna fucking get mad and like riot and like they could like hunt down your family and shit, but is that really something to try to punish everyone for? Like obviously not.
Yeah, obviously not, but that is a stain that Wano has to acknowledge, and a way that they go about things that's not it breeds things like this. If kids are paying for the sins of their fathers.
Yeah, in more ways than one too, because there's the whole they don't
Kiku
really
and
acknowledge a woman type of thing.
right, that's a part of it. Then Kiku and them, something happened to their dads,
Hmm.
their family as well, and then obviously Kandro. So it's just like that's a thing in Wano that I think has to be addressed.
I agree.
Like just because you're Kurozumi doesn't mean that you should be persecuted. And if that didn't happen, I mean, obviously, like it's a lot more to it, but that starts this vicious cycle.
Yeah, which is why
So
I could see them sparing him because it's like ending
yeah,
the cycle, that type of shit.
yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't like that, but
Yeah, I would not
it
either.
happens.
But
It
at
happens for
least
sure.
if he gets brought back, like Matt said, Matt, the prophet of all of all things, calling
Absolutely,
everything ever since 2013.
absolutely.
He said he might use a buster call, not like a buster call, just calling the Marines, and that could be what brings the Marines there. So I would like that. If he's just a plot
That'd be
device
cool.
to bring the Marines there,
That'd
that'd
be
be
cool.
pretty cool. I want to see an
That'd be
admiral
cool.
fucking come up and fuck shit up. Personally, in
Quickly, how do you feel about the admirals?
terms of strength.
Just in general, yeah, strength, character. Just how do you feel about them? Like, what are your thoughts on them?
Uh, I'm hyped for the characters. I mean, Aokiji and Fuji are some of my favorite characters in One Piece,
Yeah.
and Akainu and Kizaru, they're cool. They need more characterization for me to really fuck with them, but I'm hyped for them and I want to see them in the future. In terms of strength, I mean, I get called an Admiral Wanker because I say that the Admirals are actually stronger than the Yonko overall. And I know that's a hot take, but yeah. So I'm a big fan of the Admirals.
It is a hot take, but it's one that I'm not opposed to because I'm a huge fan of the Admirals as well.
Here's another hot take for you. I think Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru are all stronger than Prime Garp. And that's not me saying Prime Garp isn't Pirate King level. I just think all three of them are Pirate King level too.
hmm. I think all right. I think what I've noticed is that your process is new generation. They're gonna surpass the older generation,
Yeah, in a
right?
sense.
Um,
I'm not looking at it just like that. I'm just thinking of their overall abilities. Like their Devil Fruits are so hacks. But yeah, in a sense, like I do think the new generations are slept on.
I agree with that. And I think most of it comes down to feats, where people just look at like, oh, look at what they've accomplished as opposed to like the new generation. It's no comparison. And then people look at the Whitebeard versus the Kainu fight as well to kind of
Bro,
paint.
it's so crazy because Odin he could arguably low diff Kaido and he got one shot because he didn't see it coming. And Akainu got cheap shotted as well to the back of the dome from a fucking enraged
Twice.
Whitebeard.
Yeah, twice, bro.
Well, yeah, I'm just talking about the off guard thing because
Okay,
that
okay,
like
okay.
people argue like off guard makes it even more damage. So instead of like
Right.
just folding like Odin, he was able to like take arguably a Pirate King level attack to the back of the dome, maybe even unhockeyed, and he immediately like melts off half of Whitebeard's face. Like just melting off half of Whitebeard's face in itself is like arguably unprecedented because Roger and Whitebeard fought so many times and he didn't give
do
him like
anything.
any serious things. But then Akainu could do it in like half a second while being cheap shotted, like fucking insane. Like people sleep on that feat so much.
You love to see. Listen, I have debated Whitebeard versus Akainu for 5 years. All right, for at least 5 years on the internet. And bro, there's I sometimes wonder what people saw or what they read or why they don't think it's impressive because the only rebuttal people have is like, well, they should have used observation hockey. I'm like, what the fuck are y'all talking
But then now people make the excuse that Katakuri wasn't calm, Luffy wasn't calm. That's what Kaido
Luffy
beats
wasn't
them.
calm.
But then yeah, Kaido was like fucking enraged. Like he's like, how dare you stop me from killing Luffy? Yada yada.
Oh man, listen, my Akainu agenda has been growing. It's been growing steadily.
I mean, if Imu's
Where
not the final boss and it's Akainu, it's over.
listen, I think in my top 30, I think I had Akainu in regards to my top 30 all time, by the way. I think I had him 4.
I can't disagree with that.
I had him 4 or 5, and people were pissed. People were so mad.
Especially
like,
the he's equal to Yonko Commander 1 people.
Oh,
like, you just know
man.
it grinds their fucking gears.
Bro, they're like Akainu over Big Mom and Kaido and shit. I'm like, sorry.
I mean, he has the most impressive on-screen feats in the series. Like, what do you want me to say?
Bro, I don't get it. Listen, he's the only person ever that we know of that defeated another top tier outright 1v1.
Yeah, but people would just say he's an admiral, so it's not impressive. Just to keep the agenda going.
I'm like, think about that. From Garp and Roger, Whitebeard and Roger, nobody has ever come out with like a definitive victory that we know of. Akainu definitively beat Aokiji.
Mm-hmm. And Aokiji is, arguably fucking Power King level. Like, he's so
Come
powerful.
on! He beat him. And you're telling me that Akainu is not strong? You're telling me that Akainu can't beat... Oh, he can't hurt Kaido? Really? You still think that?
People will go so far as to say that... Yeah, that is pretty funny. But people go so far as to say that Whitebeard, he could just, continue living on with half a face. Like, what I always tell people is, like, even if Whitebeard literally killed Akainu in the next attack...
He's dying.
He's even at best because you're dying. So, yeah, you just tied. At best.
What I tell people as well as like in this fight, where there's so many like cases where it showed that Akainu was at least trying to protect Marineford, Whitebeard was trying to destroy it, and he just couldn't. Akainu was stopping him, and there's so many moments which Akainu could have ended it effectively, immediately.
Like, imagine if you hit him in the face instead of the chest when he had the heart attack.
Just imagine. And then there's a moment when after Whitebeard faltered, Akainu hit him, and then all of a sudden fodder came out of nowhere. I'm just like, what? Akainu would keep pummeling him. Yeah. Like that wouldn't happen. So it's just, and people say, well, he got stabbed and all that stuff. That's why I'm like, bro, those heart attacks would have happened eventually if they fought 1v1. This was inevitable. Whitebeard was sick.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have happened that quickly, but I don't think Whitebeard's having a 10-day battle with Akainu,
I think maybe a day. Maybe.
Yeah. I could agree. It's hard to say, but yeah, I think that's fair.
But it's just, I mean, listen, the Whitebeard versus Akainu, like when people mention, oh, how can we say Akainu is as strong as Yonko when he got no diff by Whitebeard? What?
Yeah, I don't think people realize that if Akainu, he was so fucked up that he didn't have any strength left, he would have just fell into the water. Like, it's kind of like a Luffy versus Dofi situation. Like, after Luffy hit him with the Kong gun, Dofi was on the floor and it looked like he was helpless. But then after he tanked like 5 more Gear 4 attacks, So just the fact that Akainu was like paralyzed for like a quick second, they take that as he's finished. When that's
almost like it's not even as bad as Luffy versus Apu.
Yeah, that's true. The
Luffy got knocked out.
Makes it worse.
Right? Like Luffy got knocked out by Apu to the point he had to get carried. Akainu had to recover himself. Like he had to recover from that fissure. And it's like, this is the strongest man in the world, the most powerful devil fruit in the world. He took an enraged attack off guard.
And took a clean one to the chest too. Like, Jesus.
Come on, bro. And bro, no visible damage, by the way.
Yeah, well, I don't really think you can use that because it's kind of cheap because, blunt damage in a sense. Like, people, and this is something I do to troll people where it's like, Whitebeard lost half a face, Akainu was just bleeding, where obviously like that doesn't tell the full story, but it's funny to say. Yeah,
Aokiji did more damage.
Hey. Did Whitebeard chip his ear? I don't think so.
He didn't chip his ear, man. He was fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure if anybody's a Yonko fan, they're listening to this fucking fuming right now. But
hey man, if they want to debate me in the comment section, meet me there.
I'm sure they'll go back and forth.
But another thing is that, like, people say 5 minutes passed by or whatever, which we don't really know, but
we don't know.
The whole point is that people are super fast in One Piece. Like, they could dodge lasers, but when it comes to travel speed, like, it's super inconsistent. Like, Sanji, he went from like the middle of Dressrosa to Dofi in like half a second. but he couldn't escape bullets in Whole Cake Island, and like Zoro, Brook, and them in Punk Hazard, like they were trying to escape from the gas, and they were like slow as fuck, and it took them a long time to get there. So,
and then Sanji in the same arc fucking hit Oven, and he didn't even know it hit him.
The point I'm trying to make is that people act like Akainu, he's this type of character that's so prideful. He's like, damn, I took an L, I got to get back at him. But they're like, no, he just didn't want to get back at him because he was scared. No, he was going after Luffy like he said he was. He's the type of person.
Imagine thinking Akainu was scared.
Yeah. Basically, he's the type of person that's like, okay, I melted off his face. Whatever happens, like, there's two other admirals there. There's Garps and Goku.
He's gonna die anyway.
He's finished.
Whatever.
Like, it makes no sense to go after him and finish things instead of taking out a potential, like, Pirate King candidate.
Yeah.
And then people would be like, okay, he took so long to get there. It's because he was knocked out for, like, 4 minutes. Like, bro,
no,
travel speed is inconsistent. He was traveling the whole time. Like, that should be obvious.
And, again, Akainu, if anything wasn't clear, he's all about duty over everything. It's almost to the point that it's toxic,
robotic in a sense.
Yeah. So for him going back to Whitebeard is done. I'm done with that. That's not. He wasn't even my goal.
Yeah.
That's like, bro. I got Ace. Now I want Luffy. Now I want Dragon's Son. Right.
Like he was going after Ace and Luffy before Whitebeard lost half a face. Like he didn't deem him important enough to target him first.
No.
But he's gonna deem that when he's missing half a face. Like make it make sense.
Logic, you love to see it.
Yeah, I mean the Admiral fans, we stay winning. That's all I'll say. Especially with the recent chapters, we stay winning.
Oh man, looking better and better.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Cole to fold. You know, that would be a glorious day.
You know, so there are a lot more chinks in his armor now. I say that.
Yeah, I've seen like some of the debates, and he's like starting to change his opinion a little bit.
Yeah,
Cole is super adamant in his opinions, man. It's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take like an admiral like literally clashing and being equal with the Yonko for him to like just cave.
It took a while for him to get off the Sanji and Kid thing, where he felt like Sanji's stronger than Kid. I know he's changed that. I don't know how he feels about the X Drake thing now. Felt like X Drake was trash. I don't know why he's like going X Drake so much. Like,
yeah, I don't really remember what his reaction was to the hybrid form, but his thing was, you know, the small arms.
The
dude,
arms.
What you gonna do with the arms? Like, what's good now, bro?
He has arms now.
His arms are looking kind of beefy.
You know, block 2 supernova at Sabaody. What now? What, you know?
Yeah.
It is what it is, man.
I don't know. I have high hopes for Drake. I could see him being a future admiral. So yeah, I think he's super strong. Okay.
I never thought about that.
Yeah,
I've never thought about that at all.
Thinking of potential future admiral candidates. I gotta say Fuji at one point he's fleet admiral, right? And then the admirals by end of series are Kobe, and then 2. Who knows? It could be maybe Helmeppo, and then who's the third one? You know, Drake is a good candidate.
He is a great candidate. You know, with Smoker. But I don't think Smoker's ever going to be an admiral. Now I think about it.
Yeah, I like to troll people and say end of series Smoker is weaker than Dofi. But who knows with Smoker? Because if you look at how strong Smoker was pre-time skip and then to post-time skip, like the Straw Hats, they were so much weaker and their growth was just so much superior that logically you should think Smoker just can't catch up to them. So there's no point in him being an admiral in the series.
Here's the weird Smoker thing. I don't know like how many people, because the law thing is inconsistent. His strength is inconsistent. But that law fight, I think that kind of had people change a lot of their opinions on Smoker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Virgo thing as well. If you watch the anime, mostly.
And even if you don't, it kind of portrays him as like around Virgo Sanji level.
Yeah, it portrays him around that for sure. But for Virgo, I don't know how strong Virgo is. Right? Like I think Virgo's stronger than Pika, but it's like with Law cutting Virgo it was impressive, right? But I felt like that was a moment thing for Oda. I
mean, you could definitely argue that because Virgo said his hockey was superior to Smoker's, but Smoker could deflect 2 of Law's slashes when Virgo he got cut up. So it's
Bro,
like whose
that's
Haki
what
is
I'm
truly
saying.
superior.
That's what I'm saying. It was like that power scaling those moments. It's not. It wasn't meant to be power scaled. I think that was meant to for that entire cutting of the gears, all that. That's a moment thing for Oda. Where I don't think Oda looked at it was like, Virgo is not this. It was like, yo, this is gonna be cool. Him just cutting the gears, that cool speech.
Yeah,
So
there's many things you can argue. Like one interpretation is that Virgo's Haki isn't superior, but he has like a combination of Haki and better physical stats. So like it seemed to him that he was superior Haki wise, but it was just like overall. And then another interpretation is that Law he made the room mountain level, and like the bigger he makes the room, the more powerful the cut is. But like I haven't really seen anything to indicate that. I think like it's the same level of cut even if he makes like a small room.
Yeah.
So there's like you said, you can try to justify anything.
Yeah. Willpower is not quantifiable. So it's like Oda can use that in anything. In anything. Any situation where somebody overcame the other person. Oh, he just had more will.
Yeah. And then it's like, can will even translate to the cut being better? Like it's a fucking devil fruit power. Like that's very murky territory.
He had more will, man.
He had more will.
He wanted it more. As Skip would say. But yeah. I guess at the end of the chapter, what else we didn't talk about yet?
I mean, basically just the end, like Drake asking to ally with Luffy. Which, like we said, it basically just signifies his conviction, and he's on the Straw Hat side now, which is cool. So I hope we see some more of him soon. But other than that, like, yeah, it was a cool moment. I didn't really care that they fucked up the numbers, but just aesthetically, it looks like a cool panel, I guess.
It's a great panel. For the numbers thing, I from since they got introduced, I was like, the numbers are their name. Right?
Yeah, so they're fodder.
They're fodder. They're just numbers. They are numbers to fill up this war. They're not going to be a threat. They're not a threat. Like, because when you look at them on the totem pole, Kaido, Commanders, Fine Six, the numbers, like, they're too far down to even, like, for me to even care that much about them. So them being here used to basically showcase this moment with Drake and Luffy, it makes sense. That's what they were there for from the beginning. So I don't know. People were really hyped for the numbers for some reason.
Do you know Lucid from BDA?
Yeah.
When they first showed up, because like Lucid has like the randomest things he stands. Like he'll say like the randomest characters are super strong. And I think he thought Apu was part of the numbers, and Apu just happens to be one of those characters that he stands. So he's like, yo, the numbers are stronger than the Flying Six. And everyone's just like, okay, Lucid. And I don't know if he's changed his opinion. I haven't asked him, but, it was funny in hindsight.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. I don't know. Like I said, they had a cool panel walking in, right? The numbers are here, whatever.
Stronger than the Flying Six.
Come on. Come on. No way. But again, overall, man, fucking love this chapter. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was a great chapter. It was really refreshing for me after last chapter, and I'm excited for the next one. I mean, for a while now, I haven't liked like the previous chapters, but they've kind of been setting the tone of like shit's actually gonna go down now, and it kind of felt like a fake out for a lot of the chapters. But every single chapter, it gives me the same feeling. Or I think shit's about to go down now. Next chapter. So. And
then it doesn't.
Yeah, but now like I buy it again. So maybe shit might actually go down next chapter. We'll see.
I'm here for it. Absolutely here for it. I'm excited. I really can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wano was meh overall, but I've still been keeping my hopes up. I'm not like Dritz that's completely defeated, and I'm still hyped for the war. So hopefully it delivers. But yeah, we'll see.
I think Wano's been good so far for me. I think in comparison to like I try not to compare post time skip to pre time skip anymore. But I think slowly but surely Wano's been ramping up, and they're consistently in chapters, there are more things that I like as opposed to early in Wano. Right, where I'm just
Yeah.
like, where nowadays it's like, all right, it'd be like one, then like the rest of it is like, okay, I like this. Where back then, I think it was just like a lot of just, let's get to it, you know. But I don't know. I think Wano's good right now. Potential to be great. Definitely potential to be great. The meathead in me can speak to the meathead in me, but
Amen to that.
we got to see. We got to wait and see. But I think this could really be meathead central. But from interviews and how things have played out so far, I think the anime is where it's gonna go crazy, as opposed to the manga.
I think that would be a shame in a sense, but and I don't even watch the anime like that, but I'll check the clips if they really go hard. For me, I just don't like the One Piece animation in general, like the slow animation, where it's like
the padding and
yeah, like
though that does get annoying. It
and even for action, like they'll just move super slowly, and they'll add some effects to it to try to make it better. But I just want to see like fast Dragon Ball Z type animation.
Gotcha. I think only thing that gets old for me in regards to One Piece animation is that they reuse the sound effects from Dragon Ball.
I don't really care about that.
So like them using the instant transmission, same thing as Dragon Ball, some of the punches and shit. It's like it's like it takes me out of it sometimes because it's like you're using Dragon Ball shit, but it doesn't look like Dragon Ball, so it feels like a bit cheap. But sometimes I enjoy the One Piece animation because it's so different and unique. Like the Killer versus Zoro fight, fucking amazing. I thought that was great. Like I really like. I'm not sure if you remember like the Pain, that animation. Naruto.
What in specific? Like him destroying the city?
Where he says my pain is greater than yours, where he looked like
oh yeah, the fucked up face. Yep.
I like that shit.
You did?
I actually like animation like that.
I mean, I thought it looked funny, so I liked it for that.
So Killer kind of looked like that in the Zoro versus Killer fight in the One Piece anime, where it's like he had moments where it's like that type of animation was kind of distorted, to show just how fast they're going. I enjoy that a lot. I really enjoyed that.
Here's the thing, like they'll try to distort it to make it seem like they're moving really fast, but then the actual action won't be that fast. Like, do you remember Luffy versus Bluno in the anime?
Yes.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite animated fight.
Yeah, that was really, really good.
You really felt the speed behind Luffy, and it's so fitting too because Gear Second, like it's supposed to be the next level, and you really felt like it was the next level in terms of everything.
So I think you like specific animation techniques, because I was watching a video on them and like the different techniques that people use to show action. Right, where some people use from frame to frame, they show the attack, but they don't show the actual attack in the second frame. They just show the reaction to the attack. Yeah. And then some people they use like where it's more so motion. It's like specific angles, using angles to kind of show like motion to kind of make it seem like it's faster than it really is. Where it's like, I think I want to see it. I don't like, because Fairy Tail did this a lot when I used to watch Fairy Tail, where they were huge fans of, you see the punch, but you don't see it connecting. I hate that. I hate when it's like, oh, I see it, but then the next frame is just like, we see them, we don't see them actually get hit. Like, I do not like that at all. So I like seeing all the action. I mean, obviously Luffy versus Katakuri in the anime, that's one of, I think, my favorite fight in One Piece. I think a clip I can go back and watch over and over again is Rayleigh attacking Kizaru.
Yeah, that was cool.
I think that was amazing. I think Zoro versus Kuma in Thriller Bark.
Yes, that was a really good one.
Those like moments like that where it just showed like some really crazy speed feats. Obviously the return of Sabaody, that was amazing too. But the anime it hits sometimes. I say that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is just preference on my part. But when I see things like Shuten Maru versus Jack, and my initial impression was Jack got sliced up because he was kind of off guard in a sense, and Shuten just moved that fast, and then
Right.
Shuten just like drags his fat lazy ass like the slowest way possible to Jack, and Jack still gets cut. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? And then Kaido with Luffy, where
Kaido and Luffy.
he
Yeah.
didn't even move that fast, and Luffy still got tagged. I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah.
I really don't like
They
moments
made
like
it. They
that.
made it a power struggle as opposed to a speed blitz in the anime.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like, all right, whatever, man.
Yeah, I don't really fuck with anime that much in general because for me, just like achieving the peak of animation is just so hard. So even though like animation is more visually appealing than manga panels,
Yeah,
manga panels are closer to perfection for that medium than anime can ever get, unless like, just so much time is put into it. So
I agree with that. But like for moments, I think I watch anime. I think I watch anime more than I read manga because if you find that peak anime, it's nothing like it. Like or peak
I've
moments in
given up
anime.
on anime like a long time ago.
So, Attack on Titan. Not sure if you watched that.
I haven't read it either.
There are moments in that anime that I think blows anything out of the water. Just basically what they achieved visually through the soundtrack. It's literally perfection.
Yeah, I think anime
Um,
at like if it's executed perfectly, manga can't compare obviously because
can
the soundtrack and the animation obviously.
it's perfect, bro. It's perfect when you get to that because it's so much more that goes into it, right? But I think obviously in general, manga hits more. They're more quality manga than quality anime,
For
I
sure.
think.
Yeah.
Um, somebody did say though, like for all the popular manga, aren't their anime just as good?
I wouldn't know because I haven't checked out that many anime, but I feel like a lot of people they don't know a lot of the hidden gems from manga, so the inverse is true as well, where they can't really say either.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, I think like I said, the peak anime for me is always superior to the peak manga, even though sometimes your imagination kind of runs wild for certain moments where you're like, oh man. And then because you read the manga, sometimes it can't live up to what you envisioned it to be.
I think the
Right?
best example of this, especially for me, because I caught up to One Piece through the anime before the manga, is the
Yeah,
Jet Gatling versus Lucci. Like I think the anime curb stomps the manga in that regard.
absolutely.
I fucking love that scene in the anime, and then in the manga, especially like having high expectations for it, I'm just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree with that. I mean, yeah, I was anime only for a while. Got caught up, then read the manga. It was just like, but the thing is, I love One Piece as much as I do now because of the anime, personally. Um, like the voice actors, the OSTs, even some of the filler moments, right? It's like it's kind of grown on me
Mm-hmm.
like a lot. I don't know if I would love One Piece as much if it wasn't for the anime. So I'm always uh I'm always attached to it.
Yeah, I feel you. For me, it's just I don't know because there's been moments like with Naruto, for example. Like I used to love Naruto. It was the first manga I ever got into, but now I don't like it anymore, despite how much love I had for it. And with One Piece, at one point, I had this mindset of like One Piece is probably going to be the goat for me forever. And then I
Yeah.
read Kingdom, and now Kingdom is my favorite manga. So for me, I don't get as attached. Where like I'm more open to change my favorites.
Mm. Naruto always Naruto is not my favorite, but it's always be like have a special place in my heart. Um, because it kind of changed my perspective on anime. Where outside of Dragon Ball, that was the other anime that I watched. I mean, of course, with Inuyasha and stuff like that. But I think Naruto was the first one I really got attached to. Uh, every single character and the plot and the story was really interested where it was gonna go. Where Inuyasha, I was watching it like randomly at night on like was it what is it, Adult Swim? Um, so it's like with Naruto, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but it wasn't I don't feel like it was as terrible as the masses say. At least to me, it wasn't. I still really like the ending. The Kaguya stuff, whatever, but um, Naruto will always be one of my favorites.
See,
Like,
I'm never gonna shit on someone for having an opinion, but my opinion might trigger you because I find it even worse than the masses that shit on it find it. So I don't know. Like to me, the main thing is I don't think the Naruto and Sasuke relationship was set up well. Like he didn't have that good of a reason to really befriend him to the extent he did. So seeing him go to the lengths he did to try to save him was kind of cringe to me. And then that's what it goes into in general. Like I just find a lot of it cringe in hindsight. But you know, I could see your point of view. Like I said, I'm not gonna shit on anyone for having an opinion.
yeah. The thing is with me, I'm never upset, or I don't feel the way if people feel a certain way about it, because I understand everybody's different, right? Everybody's gonna feel a certain way about something. I think it gets bad when you start shitting on opinions and start telling people they're wrong for having certain opinions and feeling the way they feel. I think
Yeah,
that's
but
when
then
it gets to a place when it's like,
in another sense, like people can have an opinion, but then when they try to back that opinion up, they back it up in a way where they're arguing kind of objectively, or like that's at least how they're giving it off. And then when
that's
someone tries
yeah.
when someone tries to counter argue that, they're like, "It's just my opinion, bro." And it goes
so
into
that's
like,
the thing. That's when you point
yeah.
out the flaw in that, where it's like, okay, are you arguing it objectively being good, or you're saying subjectively this is how you feel about it? Because those are completely different things. Because then it's fair game,
Yeah,
right?
and then people just jump to it. It's not like they're gonna argue like, is this subjective or subjective? Like no one starts off a conversation like that for the most part. So a lot of like misunderstandings can happen.
Yeah, yeah. It's just one of those things, man. It's just that's why I don't engage as much in certain things, just because it leads nowhere to me. Because people are gonna have their opinions no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Well, at the same time, I feel like people are too quick. I'm not saying this is you, obviously, but people are too quick to, if they see a differing opinion, especially if it's like an extremely differing one, they just think like there's no point in having this conversation, just like by default. Like they don't even see how reasonable the guy is. They don't even try to look at his point of view. They're just like, your opinion is so different, pointless conversation, which I hate that mindset.
I think for me, it's not about opinion; it's about character.
Mm-hmm. Like how they approach it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, like we can have completely different opinions, but if you're, but if I feel a certain vibe, I talk to you. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel the way you feel about Zora at all, but I don't think that affects the conversation or dialogue. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I feel like that's it's about how you approach it, and I think that's my main thing with some people in the community, is that they approach things from such a toxic level that it uh it prevents discourse.
for sure.
You know, and I feel like that's always been something that's kind of kept the community together, is discourse. And then it's kind of gotten to the point where people, they're they enjoy being toxic. They I think they like the brand of being toxic.
I'm not
And
gonna lie, I enjoy being toxic. At least in
see,
BDA. At least in
BDA is
BDA.
a different different
Yeah.
animal.
If you see some of the shit I've said in BDA, you'll be like, is that Jonkins? Like, who the fuck is that?
But like for certain things, it's just like, you know, even on Twitter, or just like if you're trying to have a like discussion, it's just, I think overall approaching things better got to be the move, because then because at this point I just feel like a lot of separation happening within the community, just because people are just not coming at things from a place of just wanting to have actual discourse.
Yeah, sometimes to me, I do feel like I might jump the gun and this guy might actually be cool. And I'm
Yeah.
just starting shit for no reason. But usually I kind of wait to see if they're condescending at all. If they're condescending, then you're on my shit list and it's fair game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I
But
get that. I get that.
yeah, especially because I just find it funny sometimes. Like the way people will be toxic, like how I be toxic is like I'll give an argument, right? I'm not just gonna like just talk shit and like be substanceless about it. Just like say you motherfucker, you bitch, whatever. Like I'll give like a paragraph argument, but depending on who I'm talking to, I'll say the exact same paragraph, and then at the end, I'll just be like, you fucking piece of shit or you dumbass bitch. Like at the end, it's like I'm being reasonable in a sense. Like I'm giving points. I'm not just trying to just be an asshole, but I'm just throwing in the assholeness at the end just cause like you were condescending to me. I'm just gonna return the favor, keep the same energy.
No, I get that. I mean, I used to do that. Now it's just like I just don't respond.
Yeah.
It's just, bro. I got into a place where it's like no point. It's like whatever. Like I'm not gonna argue with you about it. It's fine.
I feel unless you have the mentality I have where you just find it funny, then yeah, there literally is no point.
Yeah. If it's to entertain yourself, sure, but I can't. I'm not entertained by that anymore. I used to be at one point where it was like, all right, it's fun to kind of trigger people and then go back and forth and get that W. Now it's like let me go do something else. It's not worth it.
Feel that?
You know what I mean,
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think we could wrap it up now. Went on for like solid 2 hours. It's a dope combo, man.
Yeah,
really dope combo. You're welcome to be on my channel anytime.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate you having me, man. When you uploading this?
Probably right as it's finished. It'll probably take a couple hours to process, but yeah.
Okay, dope. But nah, I appreciate you having me. Sorry Draco couldn't be here.
Yeah, he's a troll. It is what it is.
It is what it is. But nah, we'll definitely do this again, man, for sure. This is dope convo. And like I said, if anything, if I have any discussions or whatever, if you want to come on, just let me know. Definitely got a spot.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of baited you because I could have started off our first combo with the tier list, but I'm like, I have to show him how reasonable I am and then show him the tier list,
Exactly. If it was a tier list, I'm like, yeah, I'm not never talking to Jockins
like
again.
Take one glance at the tier list and you're like, it's over, bro. Blocking you.
Yeah, we definitely got to do the tier list thing. Absolutely. I got to see this tier list at some point.
It's a glorious tier list. But yeah.
I'm sure. Right, man. Appreciate you having me, though, man.
Yeah. All right. Peace out.
Peace.